everybody? It's your boy, the Belford, back again for another Call to Action Live with the co-host on the planet, Danielle. How you doing, Danny?
Hi, Billy. I'm doing good. How are you, man?
I'm great. I'm excited to be back here again for another Call to Action Live. You know, we got a packed show.
We do have a packed show, but I have some very good news on the personal side. I got my COVID shot today, so I'm very excited about that.
Ooh, woo! That's right, folks. Get your COVID shots. Get that vaccine so we can all go back to normal, and I can go back to live events where I belong. And we can all travel the world. And, go to Schmoedown events. I don't know, in Scotland or something, maybe. I don't know. Speaking of Scotland, look at that segue. That's professional right there, Danny. Speaking of Scotland, we do have a guest on the show tonight. We are excited to have him back at it again with us here at Call Live. The one, the only, Mr. David, the Scottish Inquisition, Campbell. There he is. What is up, man? Sir? How are you this evening?
Listen, I have decided once again that sleep is for the weak, all right? And I will get us in the middle of the night here in Scotland to join my lovely people over here in Call to Action. I can't wait for it, and I'm loving. You love that nickname, Belford, ever since you first coined it, the Scottish Inquisition. You can't stop calling me it, and I'm all here for it, my man. I'm all here for it.
I'm going to make that a thing. It is my life's mission that you will be known as the Scottish Inquisition. Oh, yeah. We are excited to have you back, sir. It was a pleasure to talk to you before draft night, and now to have you back again to talk Schmoedown. Now that the Schmoedown is back in full force.
Yeah, I've been buzzing. Having the Schmoedown back in my life is exactly what I was missing during everything that was going down in lockdown and quarantine and stuff like that. I just need more Schmoedown, and we've got it in abundance. I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah,
100%.
You definitely don't realize how much you miss it until it's gone. And then especially with the way that it's coming back just in full force, I am super excited about it. We had an action-packed week. Oh, no pun intended, I guess, on that one. We had a pretty big week. It just
100%. And we had the first pay-per-view match, which was like a nice little tasty morsel. Yeah. And then it's almost like they just brought in the main course, and now we're gluttons. We're overeating on Schmoedown right now.
Oh my goodness, yes. And it's the first week.
Yeah, I mean, this is stuff that the stuff that would happen this week. Right off the top, everybody watching, there will be spoilers in this show. So if you haven't seen matches yet, we're going to be talking about the matches that happened this week. So if you want to avoid spoilers, this is not the show for you. Come back in maybe an hour or so. We'll probably be done talking spoilers.
Maybe.
But yeah, right. That's the crazy thing. And we're going to limit ourselves as much as possible about the matches. We're not going to get into the specifics of the matches too much, maybe one or two here or there. But for the most part, it's going to be general talk, but with spoilers. But let's get right into the matches this week. The week kicked off with a really fun match between Amaru Moses and I believe a friend of yours, Mr. David Campbell, Jesse Swift.
Yeah, really, really good fouls of Jesse since the campaign days where we're on the campaign trail together, going into the draft, so it was good to see him get his debut in the Schmoedown for this one.
Jesse did an excellent job.
He had a nice debut. Yeah. Go ahead, Danny.
Oh, sorry. Jesse did an excellent job. Just like Billy said, he had a nice debut against someone who had a lot of hype behind him. So that was, it could have been a laid back match for Jesse, but still a lot of pressure for him. But he really brought it to the table and really showed up during this match. And I'm excited to see him play a lot more inside of the IG.
Oh, totally. And the thing was, I spoke to Jesse before this match, and he was annoyed at me because he was like, "You put this into existence. You said that this would be the first match. I called it," and I was like, "The story's there, you know. Amaru first round pick, while Jesse was more of this underdog. You know, Jesse talked his way into the league, you know, and Jesse knows that, and he knew he had to come in and back up that talk, and he went toe to toe with Amaru. We all said it. This was one of the most entertaining ways to start off the season proper. Like, this match could have went either way going into that third round." And the drama that was there, the knowledge that was on display, we got to see more of these new IG categories. I love this match from beginning to end, and I think the future is bright for both of these guys in the Schmoedown. I can't wait to watch more of them.
Oh yeah, 100%. A lot of times you find out more about the player that loses a match than you do about the player that wins a match, because I think there were expectations for Amaro, and he kind of just like he just kind of satisfied the expectations. Like, he won. But we got to see actually more of Amaro than maybe we thought we were, because a lot of people thought maybe he was just going to TKO Jesse. He didn't, and Jesse was there toe-to-toe for him. He pushed him to the limit. You know, he made him answer more questions than maybe he wanted to, and that's all you can really ask for. And the way that Jesse hung there, you know, he falls behind in the first round, and sometimes we've seen players fall behind in the first round and then fall apart. Got none of that from Jesse, and maybe outside of a few interesting things, you know, it could have gone either way. So
yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because taking nothing away from Amaru, he lived up to the hype, and it's hard to come into your first match with that kind of pressure. You know, he came in and he was the second person drafted. That is, as a rookie, that's huge responsibility on your shoulders. The thing is, coming out of this match, Jesse is also protected, I think, by the what if factor. You know, there is that little asterisk there that makes you think Jesse performed well, but there's also that little thing, if that had been slightly different, maybe it could have been a different outcome. You know, there's that little question mark there that helps him, I think.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about where Amaru is with that kind of big, heavy on his shoulders, being the second round pick. He did, you know, it wasn't a TKO, it wasn't a knockout, it wasn't anything like that. He came up and he showed that he can play well, but that he still has spaces that he can do better in and that he can get better in. And that's why I think that him working with Sam is a great fit for him, because Sam is going to make sure that he works with the right people to get the right fit of the knowledge. He's got Rachel Cushing in his back pocket also. So there's plenty of room for Amaru to grow, and I feel like he's in the right spot to grow. And the same thing with Jesse. You saw Jesse's personality inside of those, you know, in those post-match little scenes and stuff. So are those pre-match scenes. And he fits so well with Koi. Like, he's definitely a quirky merc. He's in the right faction, and he was able to go toe to toe with Amaru. Like, they kept going back and forth. A little bit of a tiny bit of a controversy, tiny bit with that Superman the movie question. So that's a little bit here nor there. You know, the challenge wasn't called. It is what it is. Yeah. That's what happened. But Koi learned from that. Koi touched on that and made sure to address it, and it's acknowledged. And I'm glad that we're past this point of hinging on these little teeny tiny mistakes. It didn't get called, and the challenge wasn't there, and that was what the issue was. So, but yeah, go for it, David. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, that's the thing. Like, I think Koi and Jesse both recognize, if this hadn't been Jesse's first match, he would have been like, no, something's amiss here. I know my stuff. I know that that's right. Koi, can we get you in here? But it's Jesse's first match. You know, it's his first match, and you're all obviously the nerves are going to play into that. Obviously, you're going to be a bit trepidatious about maybe rocking the boat in that way, especially with the new rules that have come in about petty challenges and stuff like that. That's going to be playing in the back of your mind. So I think it is one of those unfortunate situations, and mistakes happen. You know, mistakes happen with questions. But obviously, Sean Buckley saying here, both Amaru and Jesse have pressure to be the main IG competitors for their factions. Both started the season well, and no one can argue with that. No one can argue with that fact, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, honestly, maybe Koi kind of underestimated his own competitor. Like, I don't think Coy expected Jesse to do as well as he did, because he seemed almost kind of surprised after the match that it was like as close, or not as close as it was or something, but like just that Jesse almost won, and without, maybe even with this challenge, like he could have won, not the score wise, but momentum and all those other things that go into a match. So like it's Coy's like, yeah, I kind of dropped the ball on that completely. But like you're saying, David, he's not. This is Jesse's match on like any level. Like the Amaru's played in the fan leagues at least, which has a similar structure to the Schmoedown. So you're used to doing things like challenges and things like that. Outside of that one thing, though, I think Jesse did very well. He used his JTEs well. He was confident. It seemed like in every question. And I do agree 100% with Dean Morgan, who says that Ed Harris screwed up with Jesse. So that's a complete fact.
100%.
100%.
Damn you,
Blame TLB.
That whole match can just be ended with a hashtag blame PLD.
100%. 100%. PLD was alive when they made Superman the movie, so that's on PLD as well.
Curses, that PLD.
Yeah. No, I'm going to predict this now. I think Amaru Moses is on his way to the IG belt eventually, by hook or by crook. That he came in, and I don't think we've seen the best of him in this match. You know, I could see him going the distance this season. That's how good he is. But don't underestimate Jesse Swift, because if there's one thing that I've learned about Jesse in the brief time knowing him, no one loves the Schmoedown more than Jesse. And he will be looking to come back in the next match with fire in his belly. You can guarantee that.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm kind of talking about. Like, I think Jesse opened up eyes to a lot of other IG competitors who maybe he wasn't on their radar, and then now you watch this match and you're like, okay, this guy can hang. Like he's in it in every question. You know, he didn't have any dumb answers or any answers that were just like off the wall. Or every answer seemed calculated, seemed smart. Some answers were even more correct than we thought they were. So
yeah. Exactly. But
I think that going forward, both of them have really bright futures. We got to see a lot of their personality. We got to see their knowledge, and that's what you want to see in a good Schmoedown match, you know. And in the end, the best thing is that the mistake doesn't cost anybody the match. It's not like Amaru got a steal or Amaru won by less than a point or by a point or something like that. So in the end, on paper, he still wins the match. But we're going to move on to our next match of the week. What a busy week this was. And that was the Star Wars match between Sean Sullivan and Marie Wilson. And man, this match was amazing. This match, it's crazy. The match between Laura and Molly was fantastic because Laura was so amazing in it. This match was just one of those amazing Schmoedown matches. It's back and forth. It's drama on every question. You expect the competitors to get every question right, so it's nail biting when they don't. And I loved it. I thought it was one of the best Star Wars matches we've seen in a while, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely a lot of fun. The questions are so great so far, and this is going to be a running theme throughout all of these matches, is how well the questions have been this season. Like, I'm having so much fun with them, and these Star Wars questions are amazing. And what was a lot of fun for me during this match was in the round one between Marie and Sean, both of them getting the same questions wrong. That was a lot of fun for me. So seeing that, because it like that's easy pressure in a way, I guess, for people that are competing, because it's a bummer that you got something wrong because you're going to be behind on that point, but at least the other person got it wrong with you. So.
Yeah, exactly. But I just loved the personas on display here. You know, I think Sean Sullivan fits like a glove into corruption. You know, that man has embraced his new faction with every fiber of his being, and I am all here for it, absolutely loving it. And Marie Wilson, you know, she comes in and she's taking no prisoners. There's nothing apologetic about Marie Wilson. She knows why she's here. And you can see when she got a question wrong in round 2, you could tell how angry she was. Like, she was not happy and looked for a second as if she was going to challenge it. That challenge ultimately, never came. But it shows the fortitude of a player to come back the way she did in her first match, that Marie Wilson, if people weren't talking about her before as heavily as even the other Dragon Con players coming in, they're certainly talking about Marie Wilson now.
Yeah, 100%. She took care of, in the end, she took care of business. She did what she had to do. Little stumbles here and there. Sean was really impressive. Sean was played, I think, the best Star Wars match he's played.
Yeah.
He got a little unlucky with some things in round 3, which happens. It's funny because question, and it was a quote, and quotes are never easy.
Yeah.
She was able to figure, find the answer, figure out who said, and then Sean gets who said it as a category, and it's like, oh no, and now it's a 3-pointer, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. Real quick in the chat, apparently he heard someone say the words Ed Harris. Paul said, PLD said, "What's up, peeps?"
Is this a Beetlejuice scenario? If we see Ed Harris 3 times, PLD will show up. Is that what happens?
That sounds about right. It doesn't even say 3.
Yes.
It doesn't even say 3. I think it's 1. He's coming to call. Nice. He's got he's got everyone's he's monitoring everyone's internet and everyone. And if anyone mentions Ed Harris, he's there. So
nice.
But yeah, and then Sean just had. It's one of those questions where it comes down to, especially that 3-pointer. It's this person or that person, and he just picked the wrong person. So it's a tough loss for Sean, but I'm super excited for him.
Yeah, because it's definitely a 3-pointer as opposed to a 5-pointer, because you've got enough context in the question. I believe it mentioned when we get to the ground, and obviously that's a major plot point at the end of Rogue One, so that's the movie. But even watching it as a fan, I was sort of like, who was it? Who did say that? Who was giving this pep talk? I couldn't quite pull it or remember it before he did it. So I completely sympathized with him in that moment, but nothing to be ashamed of. And especially the good thing, what's changed in the Star Wars division is a loss before in previous seasons for Sean like this. He could be out of action till September, But we've got 2 Star Wars tournaments coming up this season. Sean Sullivan will be back. And that's what's so exciting to me.
Oh, and he showed up. He showed up in this match. He really did. He came through character-wise, Sean Sullivan just coming in there, just super smooth and suave, going with it. Exactly what you said, David. Perfectly fitting in with Corruption. Even though, Sully's never been this heel persona and Corruption is a heel faction, I think that sort of suaveness is nice to see in there. But he really showed up in that trivia, and I think that Sean, you needed to see this side of Sean Sullivan. I think everyone here at the Call to Action podcast, because as everyone here at C2A knows, Sean Sullivan is a good friend of the C2A podcast. This is his favorite podcast.
So we already knew. He's a best friend of the show. That's what Sean Sullivan is.
So we already knew.
Best friend of the show. So
yes,
you're in good company with Sean Sullivan.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we knew that Sean was going to show up, and he really, really did. And I think that's going to put a lot of people and other factions on high alert for Sean Sullivan in any Star Wars tournament that we have coming up. So
yeah, and I don't think his manager Susan will hesitate to put him in any Star Wars tournament coming up.
Right.
No. Well, as of right now, because Joseph Scrimshaw's his availabilities, we don't know what it is. So Sean is he's the number 1 Star Wars player on Corruption right now. Yeah. 2 things that were really interesting to see especially at the end of this match. Marie Wilson's reaction to winning, but not only to winning, but the fact that she knew Sean's 5-pointer. She was like, I knew that. And I was like, wow, okay, you're in it to win it, girl. I get you. I feel you. Because you never know people who are outside of the Schmoedown when they come into the Schmoedown, if they'll get what's going on. If they get the vibe, and that shows that she gets the vibe. She wants to win. And I'll say, just 2 matches in, the Amaru match and now this match, Sam Levine is in it to win it. Sam Levine does not want a repeat of last year.
He's riding on high right now.
We had him on Chill, and I actually I tweeted after we interviewed Chill that there were 3 takeaways from the interview. Was that and one of the biggest ones was Sam Levine seems focused this year, and a focused Sam Levine is a scary Sam Levine, and he seems super focused on winning the Schmoedown. And I think he's made smart draft picks. He got Amaru Moses for IG. Now he's got Marie Wilson for Star Wars. They're a danger in both divisions, which he didn't have last year at all. I don't think he had a Star Wars or an IG player last year. So they're definitely gunning for it. Real quick, we have a super chat coming in. Go ahead, Danny.
Oh, there you go. Got it from Mr. Benrainer. Shannon has a way to bring her characters out for sure. Every character is great from there for sure. Yeah. I totally agree, Ben. Shannon does have a great way of working with her players, and I like it.
And they all come with a set color scheme, which always helps.
And I mean, apparently she has a way of bringing out the best in maybe some other people's characters and players. And as we saw in the cutscene for this match between Chandru and Laura Kelly, is there some things afoot? Is there some mutiny on the bounty here?
This cutscene. Do you want to talk about this cutscene now, or do you want to wait until we talk about other cutscenes later?
Maybe we'll wait until we get into that. We'll focus more on the cutscenes.
Yeah, because I guess some stuff to say about that one.
Yeah, there was definitely some stuff to say on that one. So we'll move right along to our next match. There's so many matches this week. Oh my gosh. Vinny Mancuso, the Ice Pick, best name of the Schmoedown. Not slightly not as good as the Scottish Inquisition, but the best name of the Schmoedown. Against Lady Justice. I'm sorry, Marisol, but maybe the worst name in the Schmoedown. Marisol McKee. I love Marisol. That name's terrible.
I love Marisol, and she works that Lady Justice character like a boss. Look, okay, let's get into that really quickly. Let's talk about her promos, because she's working those promos. You got to give her some props. Let's give Lady Justice the fucking props that she deserves, because in this digital age that we're in Schmoedown right now, when do we get Schmoedown heyday, those entrances coming out in costume and in character and having these amazing entrances. That's what Marisol is doing for us right now in this digital age. So fuck yeah, Lady Justice, give her roses, because she deserves it, especially in this spot, because we need these. And to see the way that she jumped in, she superhero jumped in on this match. Y'all, come on.
I love her character. I just said specifically the
name. She's someone desperately needed in the Schmoedown, though, because you need to differentiate your characters in a world with sort of larger than life personas. She brings this calmness to it, but it's never boring. It's always entertaining. She has this innate charisma about her. She is a total enigma, and it's fascinating to watch whenever she gets in the ring, especially coming up against someone like Vinny, who's drinking from a blender. That's a match made in heaven right there.
It really
100%. Yes.
Oh, I love Marisol, because, like you said, it is this calmness and this dignity and this respect, because she clearly loves the Schmoedown. I love it. Again, it's just the name, all right? I love the character. I love Marisol. And also, the thing that people maybe don't realize, Marisol's a Philly girl. So underneath all that calmness and all that dignity and all that respect, there is the fiery heart of someone that will punch you in the throat if you mess with her. So Marisol's my girl. And also, doubters be damned. Haters go away. She done did the thing. She done put it on him.
This was such a great match to have. if you look at the schedule, if you're looking at the schedule when it's first posted in February, when we got to see who's playing, and we saw the weeks of the matches, and looking at Marisol and Vinny being the first Friday match, is like, oh, that's a fun match. Oh, but it's kind of overshadowed by the Dan Murrell Jeff Snyder match. And then when you look at the other Friday matches that are in there, that the Marisol Vinny match kind of looks like it's the least of those Friday matches that we have coming. But this match was so fucking good. Like, this was a great match. Like, for this, like, for anyone complaining about any of the matches that come out and whatever's on Patreon and whatever's not on Patreon, like, this match just shuts all of that up, because this was such a dynamic match, both of them going back and forth the way that they did. We knew that their records were the same. A lot of people kind of put Vinny under, like, Marisol was definitely the favorite to go in here. We all knew that. But Vinny really showed up in this match. They went head to head, back and forth, and just fought with it. And Marisol coming back from behind, like, to take it, this was an excellent Schmoedown match. Like, this is a very, very good Schmoedown match, and that's all that I have to say about it. I have a lot more to say about it, but I'm gonna let someone else talk.
Well, this does more for both competitors. Where if Marisol had came in and wait the floor, that does relatively less for Marisol and nothing for Vinny. If Vinny had eked out the win, I'd say that the narrative would have been, oh, Vinny got a fluke, and maybe Marisol's not as good as she says. She wasn't worth 2 draft picks. What this does, for one, it showed that Marisol McKee has grit. All right, we've talked about the dignity, we've talked about the class, but it shows she has grit to get the job done when things are difficult, and that is important for someone who's touted as a future champion in this league. And I know, as a fan, I already had respect for Marisol McKee. My respect increased by tenfold because of her performance and the way that she dug down deep in this match. For Vinny, I think that it continues this journey into the fans' hearts for Vinny Mancuso. I think this put him over in a way that not even a victory could have done. Even the post-match interview, where you see how devastated he is to have lost this match. And when he says to Winston, like, he's so emotional, and he's like, I hate to lose it on those Black Cinema questions because we have been studying those questions. That, to me, shows to the fans that is a competitor who's here for the long run. And again, like we've said with all these matches, you just can't wait to see where both competitors go from here. And that's exactly what you want these matches at the start of the season to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. That was definitely the turning point of the match, was him taking Black Cinema on the wheel and struggling with it. And it's why I always say you don't want to be the first person to hit a wheel slice, because you may think you know what that wheel slice is, but until you see the types of questions that they're going to ask, you don't know how to study. You don't know, like, what particulars they're actually looking for. And there is kind of like everything's the same from one category to the next, because they're going to ask about directors and actors and all that stuff. But it's still like the language of the questions is usually different. The stylization of the questions a lot of times is different, and it can be off-putting. And he probably knows those answers, like, from his studying, from watching movies, and he just couldn't pull it because he's not used to pulling those questions. And we've seen it from competitors before. And that was definitely 100% the turning point in the match. And talking about that grit, it's not just like you get behind, so you show you can come back. She wasn't going away. Like, it's not even close. Like, she smacks him. I mean, it was crazy. It was like she caught her wind, and then she just sailed through to victory. Like, it was like,
Well, I kind of disagree with that. I think that it was a little bit more of a fight than an easy win. So, especially with the way that they went into it. So, Vinny stealing a full 2-pointer in the second round has to hit you hard in that. Has to hit you hard, a full 2-pointer. And here's the thing about the type of 2-pointer that he took that on, is it's a number question. It's an if or question. So she could have, if she wasn't sure, she really took the chance on it for those points. I can't exactly remember. I think it was how many times It was how many times someone was in a movie, and
it was Andy Serkis played Gollum in the Lord of the Rings franchise.
Thank you. Yes, because it was Middle Earth. She spun Middle Earth. And opponents getting opponent's choice, and then coming back for the win. That's another thing on its own. So getting opponent's choice, getting Middle Earth, but still fucking crushing Middle Earth. Also, by the way, just a side note on that. But losing those 2 points on a question where if you were really not sure where she had to repeat it to take the time, just hit the multiple choice just to make sure if you get that steal, it's only that 1 point. It didn't matter in the end. But here's the important part about it also, in my opinion, going into the third round. If you're behind 2 points going into round 3, you still got a shot. You still got a fighting shot to go back and forth head to head. And that's what we saw each question. But if you're behind 3 going into it, you have to answer 2 questions before your opponent has to answer their first. So she put herself in a good position, luckily, with the way that Vinny had to go through his second round. It's the way that Vinny played his second round that allowed Marisol that chance to really take it back and have the fight that they did, because they went for each of their questions. They had to answer all of their questions. And Marisol with the Bagger Vance question, I didn't know that question. I said Louisiana because that was what I had in my head. And we're gonna talk about Will Smith later on whenever we talk about the next match. But she got that Bagger Vance question, and then Vinny had to answer his 5 and just couldn't hit it. And it is what it is, man. But that for me, that was a good fight going back and forth, and that's what made this an excellent first Friday match that we get for the Schmoedown. I very, very much enjoyed this and thought it was great to see both of these players go back and forth, to work with their managers the way that they did. Shannon just let Marisol do her thing and understood that she wasn't going to try to coat her with roses. And that's what I love about Shannon, is that she doesn't sugarcoat anything for her players when they're behind on stuff. She just yo, you know what you got to do, so do it. Right.
Totally. And there is another wrinkle to this match. I believe that this was the first time this season, certainly, we're seeing these individual IG slices coming into the singles league in round 2. And lo and behold, someone gets handed that in the very first match. That could have been a game changer. I think that singles players should be, if they are not versed in those IG slices, get versed in those IG slices, because that could be the difference maker at any point during this season.
Well, and also, don't be afraid of those wheel slices, because, it's not going to be IG. Someone in the chat, I think Dean Morgan in the chat was talking about this. IG questions in singles are not going to be these deep dives into it. It's going to be most of surface level knowledge. Even the question Marisol missed is pretty surface level. It's now there's 2 thoughts on that. Why would you ask for multiple choice? You know what the numbers they're going to give you are. It's going to be 5, 6, 7 or whatever, But if you don't know it, like Danny said, go to multiple choice, because then if it gets stolen, you only get the 1 point.
Which is what Vinny did in his second round. I'm so sorry, Bo. I'm so sorry. That's what Vinny did in his second round. He went to a multiple choice.
Right. But I mean, in a specific question like that, where it's a number answer, and you know what the choices are going to be. It's not like multiple choice is going to sometimes you go to multiple choice because it jogs your memory and you know the answer. Them telling you numbers, you're not suddenly going to be like, you know what, you're right, it is 6. Let me say 6. But if you don't know for sure, if you're not 100% sure, go to multiple choice, so that if it gets stolen, it's only 1 point.
Yeah. Am I right in saying, though, did she ask for a repeat in that question? Because I can see in her mind going, I've asked for a repeat on this. I better make that count and get the 2 points here. I think that psychology is probably played into it as well. Yeah.
That's what I love about the Schmoedown. Those little teeny tiny mental mind games that you have to play with yourself whenever you're figuring out what you're going to do with these points.
Yeah. It's funny because I know famously in a match with, I think it was with Mark Riley, Andrew Guy, who we'll get to later, he had a question about soundtracks to Nolan films and how many films that composer had done, and he got the whiteboard because it was still on the desk and did ticks to count. And you're in your house. It's not like they can tell you can't use your whiteboard to count on anything to jog your memory. I think Marisol thought she knew it. I think she because I think Middle Earth is a strength for Marisol, and I think it was not knowing their opponent is why Vinny gives her.
No one's going to give her Middle Earth in an opponent's choice ever again. No one's going to give her that ever again. If she hits Middle Earth in a wheel category, people are going to start sweating.
Like, this isn't quite like Alfonso Duralde, Festival Darlings level, not knowing your opponent, but it is like, I think if you've seen Marisol on, like, I don't know, a certain podcast, Chill to Action, she talked about her love of Middle Earth. So, like, it's definitely there. But it was a great win for Corruption. Obviously, Swag is having a rough start to the season. I mean, they get a win in the first match of the season, but they can't even celebrate it. And then it's just been rough since then.
Is that Swag win really a Swag win?
We're going to talk about that for sure. But now let's get into our final match of the weekend.
Spoilers!
Big match? I don't know.
Spoilers, really quickly.
It seemed like an okay match. Yeah, spoilers. If you're not a $10 patron, find a way to scrape together $10 a month or whatever the fee is to pay for all these. This match was amazing.
It was a great match.
Yes, across the board. Guys, what are your initial thoughts on this match? We'll start with you, David. What were your thoughts on Dan Murrell versus Jeff Sneider?
In the WWE, there is a match coming up at Fastlane between Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, and they have faced each other twice, I think, one-on-one big singles matches on pay-per-view. This will be their second time in like 6 or 7 years. This reminded me of that, but it's actually even worse or better in a way. Dan Murrell and Jeff Sneider have been cornerstones of the Schmoedown since its inception, certainly since season 3, and the fact that they hadn't faced each other just gave this match a legendary feel even before it kicked off. The hype was definitely there for this one, and both men had something to prove. There was a story here. Dan is coming in slightly changed character, but more of an edge to him. Obviously he has the stuff that happened with the Finstock Exchange. Jeff Sneider's issue was not with anyone else beyond Dan Murrell. And that's actually what I thought was interesting about this. Dan Murrell was already looking past this match. Dan Murrell was looking forward to, okay, I'll beat Jeff Sneider, and then this, and this, eventually destroy the exchange. Jeff Sneider was like, I'm the GOAT, and I'm going to prove I'm the GOAT by beating Dan, so do not overestimate me. The story of this match, with one player so desperate to beat the other, and the other almost dismissing him offhand, I thought gave this a really sort of told dynamic that I really, really enjoyed. It was great.
I have to kind of defend Jeff Sneider just a tad bit on this, just a little bit. So I am a firm believer that what Jeff Sneider is saying is that you couldn't call Dan Murrell the GOAT because he had never played Jeff Sneider in singles. Yeah. And as long as this league has been going on, like you said, they've been cornerstones in this league since at least season 3. Yeah. So both of them doing very well in singles and teams on their own, but Jeff Sneider not necessarily having the same chance in singles as Dan has, but they've still never played against each other in singles. So yeah, can Jeff get a little bit snarky against those statements about Dan Murrell being the GOAT? Absolutely 100%. But I did love that he was coming at it from that point of view. It's like, yeah, he, especially because that's the in-Snyder. Like, that's Jeff Sneider. That's who he's been. Like, you can't call Dan Murrell the GOAT until he's played me.
But that's sorry to interrupt, Danny, but that's what fuels Jeff Snyder's fire. That's why Jeff Sneider keeps coming back to the Schmoedown every year. Because if he's not trying to prove himself as the best, Jeff Sneider doesn't see a point in playing. So that's why we see later on how much this affected him, how much the outcome of this match affected him. Because Jeff Sneider needs to prove that he is the best in the Schmoedown. Dan Murrell just needs to destroy Bobby Gucci. There's a complete difference.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like it's like one guy is on a mission to get revenge, and the other guy is trying to fight for his legacy, basically. Like because in Jeff Snyder's head, he is probably the best Schmoedown player. Like you're not going to be a great if you don't think that, and he should think that. He should think that. Dan should think that. John Roca should think that. The players that are on Rushmore, they should think that. And so now Schneider's trying to not just think that, but put it into reality, I guess you could say. Because we actually did a thing. We did a tier list with What the Show, which is another show on YouTube, and the top 4 we had on the tier list. It was Alex Damon, because he's the best Star Wars player of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had Mara, because she's probably the best IG player of all time now after winning the belt. We had Dan, because Dan's the best singles player of all time. He's had the singles belt more than anybody else.
Yeah.
And then we had Snyder, because Snyder is probably at this point the best teams player of all time. But Snyder doesn't want to be the best teams player of all time. He wants to be the best Schmoedown player of all time. Yeah. And that's the only thing missing from his locker, is that singles belt.
The thing is, I'll say this again in defense of Jeff Snyder, he doesn't need to prove his legacy. I think anyone who questions Jeff Snyder's legacy at this point is, sadly mistaken, about what they're talking about. Jeff Snyder, since day one entering this league, has been nothing but a success, has been nothing but a champion. I don't know this statistic, for a fact. I'd assume that Jeff Snyder has spent more time as a champion in the Schmoedown than he has without a belt around his waist. That's just the way it seems. That's just the way it seems. Whenever you think of Jeff Snyder, you think of those teams championships. Having said that, it's like we keep going back to, unless Jeff Snyder feels his legacy is threatened, unless Jeff Snyder feels he has a point to prove, then he is not going to be fully motivated. So long may he think that there's people out there saying he doesn't belong in Rushmore, because as long as he thinks that, he's a dangerous player.
100%, yeah. And I don't think it's like, there are other players who react to what other people say. Like, they can get riled up by what other people say. Schneider doesn't care what other people say. It's all from himself. He wants to be the best player in the world. But the people that he does care about are his peers. And he wants his peers to know, not just to say, but that they know that he is the best Schmoedown player in the world. And you just got to feel for the guy in singles. I don't know what it is. It's the amount of things, again, for anybody to win in the Schmoedown, there is preparation, there is skill and / knowledge, game skill and knowledge. Yeah. And then there's always a little bit of luck. Like, I don't care who you are, there's a little bit of luck, because in the end, they have to ask you a question that you know, and there is a modicum of luck to that. Yeah. And it just seems like Jeff Snyder in singles is like snake bit when it comes to the biggest moments. He can win tournaments. Yeah. He can win #1 contender matches. He can beat the best players in the Schmoedown. It's just when the title's suddenly on the line. I mean, Paul Oyama played the worst match of his life in a singles match for the title against Jeff, and Jeff just couldn't come through because it's just.
And that's the thing is, he needs Roxy, because we've seen Jeff get in his head. After see that question he missed in round 1, by the way, as well. I guarantee every fan watching, every player watching, was probably doing the same thing that he did in that board, going back and forth in the head between Saoirse Ronan and Florence Pugh. Because unless you've seen that movie recently or you're a big fan of that movie, I would struggle to remember which sister was which and who was played by who. So of course you're going between those two, and he wrong side of the coin landed for him on that one.
Yeah,
but he couldn't seem to shake that. He couldn't seem to shake that.
Yeah, it was a real big shame to see it happen at the first question, because I think we all kind of anticipate that just a little bit whenever we watch Jeff Snyder matches, because he's very prone to do that. Whenever something, just the little bit of a shakeup, we can really, really see it mess up his game. And that, again, that's why I do feel like it is important for Roxy to be there for Jeff and for their chemistry. That's why they work so well together, because Roxy is very able to just sneak right in there and just let him know, like, stop. And but it happened, but he did it, and it's such a bummer to kind of see the way that it went down, because it is something that, to watch them both have the repeat on that question was enough of for anyone to understand, like, damn, that's why it feels like it kind of stings just a bit more, because it did seem like a very confusing question, and you really could go either way with it, and it's just right there, and that you got it right, and then you get it wrong, and it's a Dan Murrell match, and gosh darn it, here we go.
Yeah.
So it just tumbleweeds from there, and it's a big bummer to see that. But it was good to see Roxy come in between the match and really pull him through and really kind of get him back where he was. So
it's interesting for a guy who loves to get in other people's heads and like needle other people. Jeff Snyder gets in his own head just as easily as he gets in anybody else's head, because he will, like, he's like a dog on a bone sometimes with things that he can't let go. He takes everything personally. It feels like if the wheel doesn't go his way, it's a personal attack to Jeff Snyder. Like, and the wheel this time, first of all, the wheel slices on this wheel were like, I mean, it always feels like it's favored to Dan Murrell, because like every wheel slice is a Dan Murrell wheel slice, but it was like they were like wheel slices on there. I'm like, well, Jeff doesn't know anything about that. Jeff doesn't know anything about that.
And that was probably by design, though. That was probably by design. Like, Dan Murrell was probably like, if Jeff Snyder says he doesn't study, then his weaknesses are not going to become strengths overnight. So let's make sure we put those on the wheel,
Right, which normally that's why there's like at least, you say there's 2 wheel slices. Let's say usually you get to pick 2 wheel slices. Yeah. So there's going to be 2 wheel slices that hopefully that person just knows nothing about. Mm-hmm. This one, it felt like they were like half the wheel Jeff Snyder didn't know anything about. And it was like...
I do think that the categories for the first round for this match compared to the categories of the first round for the previous 3 matches were different. So if you noticed it, the first round for singles matches for the Muddy Soul and Vinny had majority new categories that were introduced this season, and this match between Jeff Snyder and Dan Murrell had more of the classic Schmoedown first round categories, dramas. So that's what I noticed for a difference, and I also just kind of want to note that, because I do think that kind of goes to show something about the type of caliber of players that are being given specific categories, because these are these classic categories that I don't want to say that it's because they're more comfortable in them and this would be a better match between it. I'm not going to say that at all. I'm not. But I think it's the newer categories were more on the wheel than they were in the first round.
Yeah.
And I think that's what kind of shook Jeff up a little bit. This is just my opinion. That's what could have shaken Jeff up a little bit. Spinning away from sports, it didn't feel like, as soon as it landed on sports, I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, Jeff, you got this, let's go. And then seeing that he just hoped that Dan was going to spin that, and then spinning away.
A lot of talk about specifically the landing on sports. There have a lot of people who've been snake bit by sports before. Dan Murrell's lost on sports. He lost to Christian on sports. When we think of sports movies, we're like, okay, well, I know sports movies, and you can rattle off a ton of sports movies. There are so many like obscure sports movies that we wouldn't even, some of them we wouldn't consider, like we wouldn't consider sports movies, or it has like a sports overtone, but it's not really.
Would Dan Murrell, would Jeff Snyder know a Cool Runnings question?
Maybe not. Ben Baton doesn't know Cool Runnings questions, so who knows? Sports is any of those like broad categories. Like there's so many little holes in it that you can fall into, and we've seen people do it before. Like, you get something you don't expect. I think at that point he was really hoping to hit a strength of his that he could just dominate the category, because that's what he felt he needed to do to beat Dan. And you just hope, he's throwing a Hail Mary kind of, I think, at that point. Like, he wanted to send a message. And I think he wanted to kind of like, almost like, really like win or lose. Like, I'm going to win or lose on this wheel. So I'm going to try to hit my category that I want to hit in my 2 spins. And if I hit something I don't like, oh, well, I lost. And and it's kind of like, he's, Jeff Snyder is a writer. He's a reporter. So he likes to control the narrative. So that if he hits a category, let's say he hits Star Trek, then he can control the narrative that, well, the only reason why I lost is because I hit Star Trek. So it almost like leaves him an out, And so he can go for those categories that he wants to hit, because then if he hits those, he has a real chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can't argue with that logic. Can't argue with that logic. The only thing that I would say is to hope that your opponent's going to land in one specific category. The math with that doesn't add up. So you just need to take into consideration, where does it lie in your list of preferences? Because that's going to benefit you more in the long run than, what would it be, a 1 in 9 chance that Dan Murrell lands in sports movies. That's
right.
To me, Roxy, I think, wanted to say that to Jeff, because you'll notice the cadence in her tone when she says, we're going to leave it so let him spin in it, and Jeff's like, yeah, and then she changes and she's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But I don't think she was fully behind that decision to start with, just from the way she said that initial line there.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to, I just feel like as manager, sometimes you have to let your player go in the direction that they feel most confident in, especially when you know that their confidence is already shaken. So you just have to be there for them and just allow them to go forth and be.
Yeah. Young free, my child. You run free.
I think at that point in Jeff's mind, he felt he needed a Hail Mary. And that's why he kept spinning, hoping to hit the category that he wanted to hit and put pressure on Dan. Because Dan was under no pressure at that point. Dan was putting, Dan was doing Dan Murrell things. He was answering trivia questions and feeling good about himself. And the only time Dan has ever struggled is when people have been able to put pressure on him, because he doesn't even struggle in the Adam Collins match. He just came up short. The 2 times he's actually kind of struggled, I felt, was, he struggled against Christian Harloff, but everybody did in that match. But it was against Guy and it was against Bateman, and they both tried to put pressure on Dan as much as they could. That's what you got to do if you want to beat Dan Murrell.
Yeah, and I think Jeff Snyder on a different day, who doesn't miss that first question, is able to put that mental pressure on Dan. He's able to play that game. He's able to play in Dan's head a bit more. Who knows what happens in that scenario? But it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Jeff wasn't able to be the Jeff Snyder that we know he can be in this match. And I would be all for a rematch down the road between these two, whether it's 1-on-1, whether it is Odd Couple versus Dan, and if it is Bateman, that's a team's match that we would all be wanting to see.
That's the match I want to see, because Mark Andreyko is Ben Bateman's kryptonite, because I don't think Ben Bateman's ever beaten Andreyko. No. And now you got Murrell and Snyder, and they're going at it. So that would be a really interesting match and a really exciting match.
Totally.
And now we get Murrell versus, so excited for that.
Yes. Yeah, I really think with the way that this match ended and all of that stuff, I think this definitely sets up Jeff for wanting a rematch and sticking to it. And this gives Jeff such a great narrative to work with against what it was, and to create that that really good good story of this rivalry between Jeff Sneider and Dan Murrell. And if we can get a full season of that and a full season of Roxy and Kaiser going against each other, I think it's going to be really fun, especially with what we're going to talk about later, the dynamics between the members of the dungeon and Kaiser, and how that works with the members of the Stars and Roxy, the different dynamics in those factions. And we're going to talk about that whenever we talk about other stuff later. But between this match, I think this sets up a really, really fun rivalry. What a match. What a match. Dan Murrell again is proving that he is Dan Murrell, and Jeff Sneider is proven that he's Jeff Sneider. So I think this was a wonderful, wonderful match. And again, totally worth it, especially with all of the other Patreon matches that we're going to be getting for this month in the Schmoedown. It's totally worth it to be a Patreon for the Schmoedown.
Totally.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, so without further thoughts on the matches this week, let's get into the really exciting things that happened this week, and that is
the only reason why we're here, baby. Burr, 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 burr.
Oh my God! Let me just paint you a picture. We're all just sitting there. We were told we needed to react to something. We're all sitting there watching the start of the match, thinking we thought the match was going to be first. We thought, oh, they're going to do some interviews, whatever.
We didn't.
Gray starts playing. Billy just sets off alarm bells and the hair on my arm and then we get Best Dressed Man in Schmoedown returns. Andrew Guy laying in bed in his sleeping sunglasses, which I didn't know were a thing, and now I want sleeping sunglasses.
They were not sleeping sunglasses. So, I mean, they were technically sleeping sunglasses, but here's the difference between the sunglasses that Andrew Guy had on when he was waking up from his nap that he replaced with. If you go back and you watch any Debonair matches, those are the sunglasses that Debonair wears. If you watch the sunglasses that he changes into, those are the sunglasses that Dastardly wears. There was no bolo tie in this, so Dastardly is nowhere. Debonair is nowhere to be found because there's no bolo tie. It's an actual tie. That's a Dastardly tie, not a Debonair tie. So you knew that right off the bat when he comes out of this bed. You heard it as soon as you heard the Still Dre playing in the background. Look, Andrew Guy might not be a conspiracy theorist anymore, but guess what? Now I am. That's what happened. Watching this cutscene, all I could do was like, where is this going? What is this? So also, again, if you look at the decanter and the glass that Andrew Guy pours his whiskey in, those are both gifts from Action Army members, and that's a big thing for Team Action. When he's turning and he's posing inside of the mirror. One of the poses that he turns back is the pose that he uses against Dan Murrell in his TKO. It's very nice. It's very interesting. Am I reaching for straws here? Am I looking at chemtrails in the sky? Probably 100%, y'all. Who knows? Watching the Nerds match that's also a big sign because of also now this is me totally going total Mephisto on everyone right now. Andrew Guy Dastardly is watching a Nerds match which has Ken Knapsack on the screen. What else? What other cutscene did we get for this Patreon match that came up, huh? What other cutscene did we get? We're gonna get to it when we talk about that cutscene, but could it mean something with Ken Knapsack and this new boss that Christian Harloff has? Who knows? Is the Schmoedown still at work here? Who knows? I rest my case.
Who knows?
Yeah, Danny. People versus Danielle Ramirez versus Schmoedown, apparently. David, what was your reaction to the cutscene or to Danny's rambling? I don't know.
I mean, I had no idea. I hate to say that after what Danny was saying
The
there.
truth is out there.
Danny has written a whole essay on this topic. Like, she is clearly the authority on this. I was just very curious as to what was happening. I thought it was some sort of dream sequence at first. I was like, wait a minute. Like, has Andrew Guy been conditioned by the Schmoeminati at this point? Has he been changed in some way? Like, to take it back to wrestling, the Fiend character, when you interact with him, you either regress some way into a character you had before for good or for bad. It seems as though the Schmoeminati has had a similar effect on Mr. Andrew Guy, and I'm not sure we'll totally see the bigger picture here until we see someone else chase after the Schmoeminati conspiracy. Because what happens to them and what links into this, that could be what brings the whole story together. But I do like Danny's Ken Knapsack theory. I think if we're betting people, Ken Knapsack just went right to the top of our list of candidates as to who could be behind the Schmoeminati all along, which would be interesting because it would mean he was running the suspects at the time that he started the Schmoeminati. What does that mean? What it makes no sense. What is happening?
I was reminded of the scene in Captain America where he wakes up and he's in the hospital, and they've placed everything in the hospital to make it appear that he's in the 1940s. Yeah. And that's kind of like what it felt like when Andrew Guy wakes up. Someone has placed all of these things to kind of beat home the fact that he is in the 1940s. Or not the 1940s, but he's in 2017. The piece de resistance for me was the Nerds Watch match. That was the one that was like, okay, now we really know what's going on here. Danny, I think, is nailing it right on the head with the link between. I don't know if it's definitely going to be Ken, but it's like a conditioning thing. Like, you see Ken, you think of Grace, etc. But the absolute mind punch me in the face moment is when he goes, I gotta talk to Bateman. And it's like, because I don't think people understand. Well, maybe people do understand. Certain members of the Action Army who will remain, myself and Paul Denuzio, have for years been writing fan fiction of how Team Action would be reunited. And to have Andrew Guy say, I need to talk to Bateman in a cutscene,
tombs, Billy.
My head exploded. The still Dre is still oh, it's so good. What a good cutscene. That was pure storyline for sure.
Look, I just want to send a big thank you to everyone involved in the Schmoedown for giving us that. I think this is I want to say this really quickly for everyone out there, especially to OG Action Army members. This is our time, y'all. This is our time. We have been here since day one. I know a lot of us have been here, and a lot of us have stuck together and have always been Action Army and will always be Action Army. And all that I ask from all of my OG Action Army members and friends and family with this new journey that we're going into, because we got a lot of talking about going into the next cutscene, not the next one, but the other cutscene that we're going to talk about later. Do not gatekeep against any Action Army new members. This is our time. Let's recruit the entire Schmoedown into the Action Army. This is for everyone. This is for all of us. This is for the Schmoedown fans to love and to realize what the true fan faction is, and that is the Action Army. 100%. And so it is time. So don't go talking. I don't want to see anybody talking shit out there about any of I've been an Action Army fan since day one. You can't have this. No, everyone is part of the Action Army. You are all a part of the Action Army. Jake, how dare you? Because look, I was trying to, this whole rant was about don't be a Jake, and Jake just exposed himself. So, but exactly, don't be a Jake.
This feels like when I first watched WandaVision, the first couple episodes. I have no idea where it's going to go. I have 17 possibilities running through my head, which are probably all going to be wrong, and I'm never going to be more happy to be wrong than I ever been in my life. Like, I am so excited no matter where it is.
This is our moment. I'm so excited.
Oh,
I just want to point this out really quickly. I'm super sorry. From Oscar Romo in the chat, Senorita Ramirez. After the show, check your Facebook messengers. Oscar, I know exactly what you're talking about. Drip, drip, baby. I got you. We'll talk about it soon.
Oh, we're going to talk about that too. Not that Facebook Messenger, just drip, drip in general. You know what? Let's get right into the next Andrew Guy cutscene. Let's just flow right into that because we'll come back to the other
full spoilers
in a minute. Yes, this is full spoilers from the pay-per-view. And again, it's like I didn't know where it was going, and I'm already here for it. Oh my god, Oscar Romo again, yes.
But you're wrong. You can't. Yes, Oscar, I totally get it, but it's Team Guy all the way. Sorry.
Yeah, you're wrong, Oscar. Get out of here with this. We're not going to date you unless you're a Bateman. Get out of here.
Yeah, but speaking of Team Guy and Team Bateman, going into this next Andrew Guy cutscene, what a weird. What are we doing? What is this? What year are we in? Where did this Andrew Guy come from? Like, just the way that it started with Andrew on his phone looking for Ben, and the funny shot with Ben. Ben's just looking in his closet at his suits, like, just missing the suits, man. Like, I know it. Like, you can. And also, again, if we're going to start getting into Easter eggs and stuff like that, you can very clearly see the white suit. Oh, my God. And then also, if you remember when Andrew Guy in his first cutscene in his bed, Giancarlo, oh, man, like, he was saying that in his sleep. And then you see the white suit. It was, like, breaking my heart all over again. So anyways, we get into the scene, and Andrew Guy is looking for Ben. And what year is this? How did you all feel about this cutscene, man?
I loved it. Like, I just found it so funny when he went and he was like, "We need to beat Mance." And Bateman's like, "We need to beat Mance." Mance is like, "Yeah, we need to beat Team Trek. Come on, we need to go to Collider." And I was like, "This is exactly what the long-term Schmoedown fan needed. Like, call us back. We've been called back to like 4 years ago, and it just feels so rewarding as a fan when you get stuff like that." And I'm like Captain America in that moment. I'm like, I understood that reference. You know, that is me. That's me right there. I'm just like, and then. Also, if you listen to like backstage and the way Ben Bateman always talks about Jason Inman, like the fact that it's Team Trek that is brought up, I think it's just gorgeous. Like, I just think it's absolutely I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It's brilliant. I just want to see Andrew Guy interact with more people now, because Ben Bateman obviously was the one we had to see. You know, what if Andrew Guy tracks down Jason Inman at this point? What if we get a scene between Guy and Inman? He's like, "I'm going to beat you, Inman." Inman's like, "I've been retired for 3 years."
And then Joe's like, "I'm going to retire you."
That is exactly what I hope and what I need and what I would love to see. I need to see a 2017, 2018 Andrew Guy interacting with retired players. I need to see him trying to go up to Rachel Cushing for some advice on how to beat Jason Inman. Like, I need to see this. This is going to be so much fun. I also did very much love the way at the very end where they tied in current times, how we know that Andrew Guy is in some sort of mind funk right now, and he's either time traveling or in this weird. I didn't watch Tenet, so I don't necessarily know how the time travel in that goes, so I don't know if that's plays anything for whatever reason. Okay, I don't know. I'm just thinking of recent time travel-ish movies, so whatever. But with Ben Bateman at the end, "Where's your mask?" Why does everybody keep saying that?
So funny. So funny.
I mean, who wouldn't want to go back to 2017, you know, to live back in that glorious time pre-COVID?
Oh my God.
Everyone should go on the Facebook group and like post pictures of themselves in 2017, like to help Andrew Guy reacclimate himself into the Schmoedown.
We're just gonna start posting pictures of the Houston match, Bill.
Oh right, yeah, 100%.
We'll just act like oh man.
But it's like it's so good. Everything is so topical. Everything is, and like you said, it's fan service for longtime Schmoedown fans, but it's also super entertaining for anybody who's just come. There we go. There's the crew. What a crew that was. Oh, my boy Party Jay, Danny, the Mama Ramirez, or Danny's mom. Jake, we didn't even know who Jake was. We had no idea who Jake was. I mean, just so many people. Jay Goldeneye's in that photo. A glorious time. What a time to be alive. But yeah, I mean, it's just so entertaining. Andrew Guy's an excellent actor, which is why he can do all of these great things. And it's why, like, when he does get to do, like, these sort of, like, extended scenes and these, like, thought out skits and stuff, it's really good. And also, it's clearly Christian's mind at work. Christian is clearly saying to himself, I didn't really mess with the Action Army last year. What can I do to really just make their heads explode right off the start this season?
Oh my god.
And
let me just totally break I didn't like turn the knife enough with breaking up the Action Army. Let me go ahead and just make this is what they are. Oh my gosh, Christian Harloff, I can't believe you're WandaVisioning us and you're making us Christian Harloff is Thanos and he just hit the time stone right now. And now we have to go back and watch Team Action break up all over again. No, that's gonna be what you're gonna do. You're not like I'm too much into Game of Thrones.
We're gonna take them out of the timeline and then move them to a separate timeline, and then we'll move them back later.
We're gonna go into the multiverse where Team Action beats the Shire Wolves.
Nice.
And then that's the Schmoedown multiverse. So that's exactly where we're going. We broke it. We broke it. We figured it out. We're going into the Schmoedown multiverse.
Yep.
That's what we're doing.
Nothing good has happened since then, so we can go back to then.
It's gonna be the Schmoedown what ifs.
But if it wasn't an emotional week enough for Danie, then we also had to get that other cutscene with Chandra and Laura. Danie, give us your thoughts on that one.
All right, we're gonna rush through some of these really quickly. Okay, so here's the deal. I don't know what happened, what flipped the switch with Chandru, why he went against Winston, because he's always been for Winston. Winston has always had his back. Everyone basically hates Chandru inside of the Schmoedown, but you know who's always hyped up Chandru and has always had his back and talked very well for him? Winston Marshall. Winston Marshall has always had Chandru's back, and for Chandru to stab him in the back like this is a definitely et tu brute moment, because it coming from Laura Kelly, totally get it. We understand. Laura Kelly didn't want to leave corruption. We all knew Laura Kelly didn't want to leave corruption. Winston took her out of, you know what? I don't know what game Winston was playing whenever he chose. I get it. Laura Kelly is a dominant Star Wars player. I think Laura Kelly has a very high potential of taking the belt away from Alex Damon. I'll say it. I'm not afraid of that. And so I can totally see that. But Winston being a manager that's a loyal manager and taking Laura over Ace kind of says something a little bit. So but Winston has always been there for Chandru. So for Chandru to pull this with what he's doing with Laura Kelly seems very, very sketch. And I've never had a reason to dislike Chandru until this moment right now, because y'all know me. It's always been swag up in here. Drip, drip, baby. So I do not appreciate this Winston slander that has been going on. It broke my heart whenever it was Laura Kelly, because I was hoping that Laura Kelly would be open and being into swag, and then watching Chandru do it just totally went.
Yeah, Well, there's sort of two ways of looking at it as well, because Chandru said that he was the one who put the word in Winston's ear to draft Laura before Ace. So there was the one thing. Is Chandru lying about that? Because if he's lying, then that's just a way to, manipulate Laura, keep her sweet, keep her on side. If he's not lying, how long has Chandru been planning on turning on Winston? Has it been since mid-season? And if so, why? What is Chandru's motivation here? What does Chandru get out of this in the end? Does he want control of Swag for himself? Is he in cahoots with another manager who could potentially come in and usurp Swag? Or is there something else at play here? Is Chandru not trying to remove Winston? Is Chandru trying to change Winston and force a change in Winston that maybe makes Winston embrace the darker parts of himself and his character? We'll need to see next time on the Schmoedown. We don't know.
David coming in here with logic. I'm coming in here with pure emotion. This is how this is why David is officially a part of Callback.
Okay, I can only deal with one conspiracy theory at a time. Okay, so I'm focused on the guy 2017 Schmoedown conspiracy. The Chandru to take it back to wrestling. Okay, this is a classic wrestling storyline. Okay, the bad guy loses. So he can't blame himself because he's the bad guy. That would be like self-reflection, self-growth, self-fulfillment. He has to blame somebody else. The only one there to blame is his manager. So he blames Winston for the loss and then grow that story from there. And what's the next logical step? Well, it's the other person who doesn't get along with Winston. It's Laura Kelly. So now we'll band together because there's no way they can trade Laura Kelly. A lot of people were talking in the Schmoedown group, oh, just trade Laura Kelly for Sean Sullivan and it'll be all happy. That's never going to happen. Laura Kelly has a title shot. No one's trading Laura Kelly anytime soon. So in the meantime, we're going to make do with what we got. This is a great storyline. It's two people who have a problem with their manager. It'll be interesting to see if they try to bring Ace on board. Because the other person who could have a grudge with Winston is Ace.
Chandru did say that he has someone else, and I'm interested to see who that someone else is. Do you all have any speculation on who it is? Could it be Ace, or could it be someone outside of Swag that could somehow be an influence in some way?
I think that if Ace is watching that scene, do we assume he is, If Ace knows that Chandru was the one who put the word in Winston's ear, to get Laura Kelly, does Ace then trust Chandru? That's what makes me think it wouldn't be Ace. I think it might be Eric Zipper. Because Eric Zipper, already turned on Winston once. Eric Zipper was also happy at the dungeon. Very happy at the dungeon. He had a great time with Kaiser. And now you're telling me that he's just been dragged back to Swag against his will? Something's afoot.
So for me, what you do with Ace, if you're going to make Ace, is you spin it up. Yeah, I told Winston to draft Laura, but he didn't have to. He drafted Laura.
That's how
he doesn't have your best interest at heart. Clearly, we do. Come join us. We'll take over Swag. Another possibility that I don't think would ever happen, but if this was wrestling, this is what would happen. Is it would be Jay Washington working on the outside. Because remember last year, Jay and Winston were kind of like co-managers at the start of the season, and it would be Jay coming back to take Swag away from Winston. Like, you don't deserve Swag. Now, I don't think this is ever going to happen, but I think it should happen.
I think there's that one. Okay, Bill, that one just blew my mind because that is actually something that I very much can see happening. Mm-hmm. I think that to combine both of those theories, it works very well because I think that Ace is definitely someone who has been loyal to Chandru, and we've seen him. I think we've seen him say something somewhere once about it, and was on the understanding thing, and that just seems more like Ace's character. He seems like he'd be loyal to someone like Winston Marshall, who's been there for him throughout his run, believed in him when no one else did, yada, 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 all of that good stuff. Where Shanju could definitely be coming into the ear of Eric Zipper, because it's easier to spit that sweet, sweet vengeance to Eric Zipper than it would be to Andres, because it just, of everything that Zipper and Winston have gone through, that makes such fucking perfect sense. And also, if Shanju were to, at the same time, like, if Shanju is really, really being the big bad that he can be, like, if he's Mephisto in all of this, in this whole situation, then he's also talking to Jay Washington and telling Jay Washington that Winston isn't doing what he should be doing for this, and he's hurting Jay Washington's legacy inside of the Schmoedown because they were co-managers, and that's how Jay can come back into the Schmoedown, which they've kind of alluded to. They've mentioned Jay Washington's name before with assistant managers. They've floated that name around to kind of, Chekhov's Washington over here. So
now the most far-fetched of all is that the two conspiracy theories are related, and that in actuality, Grace Hancock is going to get Andrew Guy and then oust Winston with Andrew from below and then take over Swag. That would be crazy. That's just crazy, guys. That's just preposterous. Never gonna happen.
I just don't see what Grace has against Winston. I haven't seen that fight.
Everyone.
I understand that, but I feel like Grace is more of a feud with Shannon Barney, and Shannon has a bigger feud with Winston Marshall, where Grace would actually help Winston inside of all of this. Mm-hmm. And man, why? Like, I need more people to expand on all of these Schmoedown theories. With the amount, like, y'all, we haven't even talked about all of the other cutscenes. We've talked about 2, with alluding to a third one that we've just barely graced over. No pun intended. Kind of pun intended over there. And already on that, look at how many conspiracy theories we've spun from that. This is amazing. This is a big testament to what the Schmoedown is doing for us for this season. I'm so glad that these scenes are back. They mean so much to me as a fan, especially with my personal history with the Schmoedown. Shout out to Christian Harloff. So I am here for this. This is so amazing, and I'm so glad that we have this. So whatever else you guys want to talk about, I just really felt like we needed to say that as fans of the show, to make sure that is out there. And big love 100%. To everyone involved in the Schmoedown right now, because we're here, baby. Yeah,
for sure, 100%. Let's move into the other cutscenes. Really quickly though, the beauty is that we are getting cutscenes this year. They found a way now in this environment and this to make scenes, to have interactions that are amazing, and I love all of them, and it's so great to see. Let's kind of breeze over the 2 other cutscenes that, the Dan Murrell, Kaiser Ben one, and the Gucci Roka ones. Those are kind of like very straightforward, much more straightforward cutscenes than the other ones. The biggest takeaway for me was I like the kind of like the edge that Dan showed in that cutscene, and then the other one, Gucci. It's just Gucci and Roka being Gucci and Roka, which is always fun.
Well, so let's also kind of new rock stars break these down. And when you look at the Kaiser Bateman Merle scene, Bateman and Merle are coming into the dungeon with different attitudes than Kaiser is used to. Kaiser was like, well, we're kind of brothers, right? Because Kaiser's used to this family environment inside of the dungeon. We've always known that for what the dungeon is. The dungeon is this close-knit group. Kaiser and Kevin Smets have always had a very close relationship. We've always known that, and Kaiser has always been the type of manager that has completely been there for his dungeon mates, and it's been a family faction. So to watch Ben Bateman and Dan Murrell come into this faction with a new manager and basically tell their manager, we don't really feel your vibe, bro, is kind of off-putting in a sort of way. Is that something that Kaiser is going to have to deal with and get used to? Because now he's got these two big heads on his team now. These are people that, like, when we were talking about the draft, before going into the draft, I've always said that I think and I believe that Ben Bateman should be on a faction where he is the top dog of the faction. He needs to be the leader of a faction because that's who the boss is. The boss needs to be the boss. And you saw that come off well when it came with Dan Murrell. And they're very used to working with each other. And that's what you saw, that they're used to that environment to where they can just be their own kind of person, where Kaiser wants to be more that's the whole point of the call. The call was a pep talk, just to be there for someone, in the same way that Roxy's there for her players, in the same way that Winston is there for her players, but never in the way that Gucci was there for his players. So Ben Bateman and Dan Murrell are not used to this kind of love and affection that a manager gives them, and that's what's that's gonna be the weird clash of these two big heads, these two leaders of the Schmoedown going into this type of faction. And that's what's going to be interesting going into there. And then when we go into the Gucci and John Roca thing, they're like, y'all know me and how I feel about John Roca and Bobby Gucci, and they're just being some petty betties over there. And look, I'm not a Ben Bateman fan, and Ben Bateman does have a very punchable face. Look, we all know that. Ben Bateman has an extremely punchable face, so I am very much agreeance on that. But you can see how much Ben Bateman leaving that faction means to them, because as much as they're petty betties, they're still, that's them being there for each other in the way that they are there for each other. And the way that Bobby Gucci knows how to be there for his players is, you know what, we're going to keep talking shit and I'm going to gas you up. And that's how Bobby Gucci is there for his players. And that's the type of manager that John Roca needs, because John Roca needs that fire, because an angry John Roca is a scary John Roca. And John Roca is angry.
Yeah. Woo! To me,
y'all don't even have too much. I'm sorry.
To me, these two scenes, they suggest that the more things change, the more they stay the same. While as we have the dungeon basically changing their identity and what they're all about to suit Dan and Ben. Like, this family has now become a business. The dungeon is open for business, and the dungeon's in the business of trying to get belts. The Finstock Exchange are the same deplorable, despicable human beings that they have always been since the inception of the Lions Den. Since Bobby Gucci has come into this league, that has stayed the same. He is going back to the character that he once was. John Roca is going back to the character that he once was. In a way, they're going back to 2017 with Andrew Guy. They probably got on the same train, you know. So I'm looking forward to seeing these two. This was setting the table. You know, this was like, okay, let's get all the pieces in place for this game of chess. I say a game of chess, it's not going to be a game of chess. It's going to be a game of, you know, just hit each other as hard as you physically can. You know, like the dungeon.
Checkers for the knives. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I was thinking more Connect 4.
Well, more Rock'em Sock'em Robots, if we're being honest with each other, to be fair. But it's going to, you know, the dungeon and the Finstock Exchange, they are on a collision course, and I cannot wait to see it when it eventually, you know, comes into the station. It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, the two interesting takeaways from each of them. So it's the Bobby Gucci is back where he belongs, managing heels.
Yeah.
Last year he had to manage, you know, Dan Murrell, not a heel, Mark Riley, not a heel, and Ben Bateman at that time was a face. You know, he had more success with Ben Bateman. I mean, he took Bateman to the title, but he had more real kind of success managing Bateman when it was Bateman and Riley at the beginning, when Bateman was still team action, you know, jerk. And so now he's back to just managing heels, and that's where he belongs. And he can be his slimy, slithery, Bobby Heenan meets, who was that? Enzo Amore, basically, is what we have here. And then on the other side, the dungeon, it's interesting. 2 years ago, the dungeon was very successful because they had obvious goals, and they wanted to achieve those goals, and they did. That's won the IG title. Paul Oyama was a singles champion. They won they achieved those goals. Last year, they seemed kind of adrift. Like they didn't really know what their goals were. This season, they're back to goals again. They won all the belts. They won all the, it's funny because Roka's the one that always used to say all the belts, all the records. The team that has a chance to get all the belts, all the records is the dungeon. And anything short of, somebody in the chat, I think it was D. Morgan, reminds him of the 90s Bulls. That's kind of like the dungeon. Anything short of like not winning every title and not having every record at the end of the season is a loss for them. I mean, they're so loaded. I mean, Robert Parker is your number 2 IG player. Are you kidding me? Like, what is like? Not in his mind, obviously, but on paper, it's crazy. And Danny, to Danny's point, Ben needs to be the top dog. Dan Murrell does not need to be the top dog. Dan Murrell is a loaded weapon. Just point him in the direction of where he needs to go and answer trivia questions, and he's fine with it. He famously joined the Lions Den for about a week because they said, "Hey, you want to be in the Lions Den?" And he said, "Sure." Like he doesn't care about being the biggest head. He has almost no ego. Well, he has a little bit of ego, I think, but not much, or not as obvious of an ego. And he knows that he can just answer questions, so just let him go answer questions. But yeah, those 2 cutscenes are both very interesting. But now let's move on to maybe the most interesting cutscene. And I love it because it's like the most simple cutscene. It's just Grace and Christian having a little chat. David, what did you think of Danny? Let David go first on this one. David, what did you think of their little chat?
I think that Grace Hancock is one of the most underrated characters that Schmoedown has ever seen. And I popped so hard to see her back. Because I was like, who could it be? They're talking about, we need to give you a boss. I'm like, who could it be? Could it be Jay Washington? Could it be Ken? Could it even be Emma Fyffe? Who is it going to be? Who? And when Grace showed up on that screen, I was like, yes, give me more. Give me all of this on a plate, in a sandwich, on toast. I will take it every day of the week for every meal. Because Grace coming into this league, not only her interaction with Christian, like last season, those 2 can go back and forth like no one else in the league. Their rivalry, maybe Loki should have had a late nomination for Rivalry of the Year. I loved Grace and Christian going at it. But I just want to see what is Grace's motivation here. Does Grace just want to mess with Christian? Is that what this is all about? Does Grace want to take over the Schmoedown? Is that what this is all about? Will Grace go after Shannon? Like you said, Danny, earlier on. Will Grace go after Kate because of, the firing at the end of last season? Need we forget, she actually got fired and she's found herself in a better job in the shortest time than anyone. I think, you talk about employment during a pandemic. Somehow Grace has found a magic portal to another world where she can just walk into a job off the street. It's amazing. I can't believe that she did it. I'm so happy to see her back. Like we talked about, the storyline in the Schmoedown is just as important as the matches themselves. Grace versus Christian. Grace in control of the league. Yes, and yes. I'm so happy.
And we got a little peek at somebody, which was nice to see. Very interesting to see Mr. Robert Kirkman, I think his name is.
Yes. Mm.
So very interesting there. Danny, what did you think?
So I didn't whenever I was watching this week's matches, I had a busy week at work, so I wasn't able to catch them at the moments that they premiered. So when I actually watched these matches that had these very important cutscenes, I only saw the matches and I didn't watch the cutscenes until today. And I was going to message the group to say, should we watch the cutscenes? Should I react to the cutscenes during Call Live? Because I hadn't watched them yet. but I didn't, and I watched them ahead of time, and I wish that I would have reacted live to them, because as soon as Grace turned up on that screen, I screamed. I legitimately screamed. Nowhere in my brain was it going to be a Schmoedown personality. Like, nowhere in my brain that it was going to be anyone near like someone who retired or went away last year or anything like that. And never in a million years would have I ever guessed that Grace Hancock was going to come back to the fucking Schmoedown. I would have never guessed that. There is nothing like this is just me stepping out of like Schmoedown. This is Danny Joy, whatever. Like Schmoedown, whatever. I love Grace. I follow a lot of things that Grace does. Nothing fucking nowhere did this come up that I would have even guessed at any point that Grace Hancock was going to come back to the Schmoedown. So I fucking love Grace, and I love Grace as a character, and Grace has been the fucking true heel. And if it wasn't for how much I love her hair, I would hate Grace. Like, I would hate Grace. And I think a lot of people do in a way. She's a heel, and she's been one of the best heels that we've had inside of Schmoedown. So when this happened, I screamed, and I love how much Christian hates this. I absolutely love it. I think it's hilarious. I think it's interesting, and I think it's, again, where's this gonna go? What the fuck is gonna happen? Like, is she coming for Kate? Is she coming for Shannon? Who is she gonna go after? Because she literally had beef with every single person in the Schmoedown when she came in. So for her to be the fucking boss, I had seen something somewhere in the chat earlier where Christian getting that upset about having a boss was kind of silly. I disagree with that. Whenever I was watching the conversation between Christian and Robert Kirkman, and I'm so sorry I cannot remember that other guy's name that was in that, but whenever I was watching him talking, Christian, they were telling Christian that he's gonna have to have a boss. I was even like, what? Like, you can't know, like, this is the Schmoedown. I don't want anyone else but Christian kind of doing this. This is what's kind of going on here. I knew that it was a bit, like, just, again, stepping just a tiny bit outside. I knew that it was a bit, I had no idea where it was going to go. And for us to get so much Schmoedown history inside of these past, like, cutscenes warms my teeny tiny little heart. And I'm so excited.
Yeah.
It was, Grace is by far the best choice for this, because she always has an aura about her that and it's like, it's in her look, that she looks like she knows something that you don't know. Like, that's her kind of like vibe, her aura. So it plays into being a heel extremely well. It plays into like any of these sort of things. Also, if it had been somebody who wasn't Schmoedown, we would have been. Remember when the lawyer was part of corruption?
Yeah.
And he kept reading the note, and we didn't know who the lawyer was, so it was kind of like we didn't care as much. Like, we want to know what was in the notes, but this guy, whoever it is. The fact that it's Grace Hancock immediately, again, like you said, it like sparks 18 different possibilities in my head. Like, and it's WandaVision all over again. It's like, I don't know where it's gonna happen. I'm probably gonna be wrong, and I'm gonna be happy I'm wrong. So this is, I'm so excited, and Grace is amazing.
And it's going to be completely different because they can draw a parallel between the Thad storyline, maybe in this storyline, but Grace isn't going to get pushed around by anyone, you know? Like, she's not going to get blackmailed by Mike Kalinowski. If Mike Kalinowski tries to blackmail Grace, she's just going to knock him out. You know, like, that is not going to happen. Exactly. It's a different kettle of fish, and I cannot wait to see where the Lioness decides her loyalties lie and where she wants to take the league. We're in for a bumpy ride, people. Can't wait for it.
I'm so excited. This is so good.
She's gonna have so many great. I hope she has like interactions with all the different managers, like, because I can see how she interacts with every manager is gonna be different, but it's gonna be so good. Like, I can already picture her with Coy, Like her interacting with Coy would be amazing. Obviously, Kate. Obviously, Shannon, Roxy. Like that's all there. Kaiser's already terrified of her. Gucci. Yes.
I want a Zoom call. I want a Zoom call with all of the managers and Christian, and then Christian having to tell all of the managers at the same time who this new boss is. And then Grace comes up on the Zoom chat, and then we see everyone's reactions at the same time. Like, oh, that would be such a fun way to start that whole sort of thing. And then we get little cutscenes of Grace interacting with a couple of either like managers, just single or double managers or something like that. But I would love to see like a full group reaction to Grace coming back to the Schmoedown.
I want like Office Space style like performance reviews where Grace is getting all the managers' performance reviews. Like like, it's so good.
This is so good.
Beautiful.
This is absolutely amazing. And Grace is such a wonderful person to do that because she's so despicable inside of the Schmoedown. Like she's that kind of like despicable in a way that like she's gonna do it with this really cute smile on her face and her bouncy hair, and it's gonna be great. I cannot wait to watch this. This is gonna be so amazing.
She's that love to hate character that we always love. That's why we love them.
Yeah, exactly.
So good.
She is the Schmoedown Cersei Lannister, and she is going to burn the city to the ground before she loses control of the Schmoedown. Guarantee that.
Oh my god, she's gonna allow Ken Knapsack to burn inside of the Citadel. No!
The Schmoedown.
The Schmoedown.
The Schmoedown. Oh my god. The little schmeros.
No, this is gonna be terrible. You know what old school Schmoedown thing that I do wish would come back would be the meme, not the memes, but like whenever people would make like these weird memes before matches.
Oh yeah.
They would put them on screen and stuff like that. It probably was around. That's like around season 2, season 3, I think is whenever they were doing that. Go back and watch those older matches to where you can see people making these memes. Please make your Schmoedown theories. Tag us in your Schmoedown. Tag me in your Schmoedown theories. I want to know what everyone thinks about what Grace is going to do. Is Grace the Illuminati? Is Grace mind controlling Andrew Guy? Is Grace going to try to sabotage everything inside of this league? Please send me your Schmoedown tinfoil theories. I need them.
Yeah. So, moving along, we also got a little tidbit from the chairman on Friday, and that is the announcement of when this will start. That's right. The First Class League will be making its debut, and guess what, everyone? We here at Call to Action, we got an exclusive that not everybody, no, very few people know. Exclusive to Call to Action.
Hey,
that's
I know
right. The Scottish Inquisition himself is about to storm through the First Class League. I'm so excited, Mr. David Campbell. How excited are you, sir?
I cannot wait to get started. I cannot wait to play. I cannot wait to get in scenes. I cannot wait to do anything I can to build the FCL. We've talked about, we've referenced wrestling quite a lot tonight. I'm a massive NXT fan. So as soon as I found out the Schmoedown was getting its own NXT, I was like, okay, well, sign me up for this. You know, let's build this thing from the ground up. This is such an exciting thing to get involved in. I am so grateful for the opportunity, and I am going to make sure that I do everything in my power to make sure that the FCL is just, if not more, entertaining as the Schmoedown proper. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait for it to get started.
100%, man.
Congratulations, David. We're definitely super excited to see you play inside of the FCL. We're excited to watch the FCL. This is gonna big shout out to PLD in the chat with the FCL. 100%. We're definitely excited to see this. I really truly believe that having it on the Twitch platform is such a great way to do this, because it's going to expand the Schmoedown audience, because Twitch is going to allow us to have that space. I understand what the FCL, what the goals are for that league and what it is, and I think that that's a wonderful way to get new eyes on the Schmoedown, and it's going to lead people into the Schmoedown and allow any competitors that are playing inside of there to really, like it's supposed to be, develop themselves and their character, and to let everyone know that, like, we're here too, buddies. So I'm super pumped. Congratulations.
I can't wait. I can't wait to grow, because obviously there's not much I know at this point. I don't know what my character is going to be, what direction we're going to go with that, like who I'm going to face, when I'm going to be in action, what's going to happen. I don't know. I don't know anything. I know as much as you guys do on that. All I can tell you is that whatever the powers that be at the FCL throw at me, they want me to do, what role they want me to play, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, because I believe in this. Like I've said, I've been a Schmoedown fan for such a long time. To come in and get the opportunity to not only be a part of the Schmoedown family, to build something that I myself am so passionate about, this is going to be good. This is going to be, I can't wait for everyone to see it. I can't wait to get started. It's going to be great.
Yeah, so let's kind of like cover your journey a little bit here. So you were in the draft, obviously, and that didn't go the way we wanted. Obviously, the way you wanted either. So what was that night like for you? Was it heartbreaking? Was it just another step on the road, or? No,
it was heartbreaking at the time. And I think if it wasn't heartbreaking, I wouldn't have wanted it enough. I think yourself, like I came in always saying I was the underdog. No one knew who I was when I came into the draft. And I did everything I could do, to try and get my name out there, to try and get my name about the place. And all I could hope was that it was enough on draft night that someone would take that chance. No one did in the end. No one called my name. And I would be lying if I said that I wasn't heartbroken and devastated about it. Because like I said, I'm such a fan of the Schmoedown. I wanted to get to the dance. I wanted to get to the table, and I wanted to be a part of it. So to be, in my mind, what felt like so close. I'm in the draft. I've managed to create, a bit of recognition around my name at this point. To not have my name called in the end, it was devastating, and I can't lie about that. I was like, hanged. It was horrible.
Right. Yeah. So did you immediately think FCL right away after the draft, or?
Kinda. Yeah. Okay. I had it in my mind.
Right. Okay.
Because the thing is,
I know. It was a few weeks ago. Brad tweeted out, like, check your email or whatever. Put the FCL logo on it. So what was it like, opening up that email?
I've talked about how devastated I was, but we've talked about how this is a sport. As soon as the FCL became a possibility, I became so motivated to just prove every manager who didn't draft me wrong. And the FCL sounds like a place to do that, as well as all the positive things about building up something new, but also to prove everyone wrong and show them that they should have taken the chance on me, and that they should have taken me in the draft, and that I can be as good as I say I can be, So when I got that email confirming you're in the FCL, you've been invited to take part in the first class league, I was like, this is day one. Come day 100, people are going to be looking at David Campbell in such a different way. Like I said, whatever character that takes, whoever I face, whatever matches I'm involved in, whatever cutscenes I'm involved in, I know that I'm going to go in there and try and make this league as damn entertaining as it can be, And that's what I want to do. I have a point to prove, and I'm super, super motivated. And not only now am I motivated due to my love of the Schmoedown, I'm motivated due to the anger and disappointment of that night.
Right. Well, I think that's the biggest thing too, is like a lot of people would be like, well, they just think about what could have been.
Yeah.
But no, like, you're on to the next opportunity. Like, you're going to find your way to the Schmoedown one way or another. This is now another, foot in the door. And You have a chance
Totally.
to make it your own. That's a beautiful thing. Like,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. And you know what? With all of these players that are definitely backstabbing Winston, maybe he'll have some place on his squad. And you got a really tight Purple Rain shirt on, so seems like you fit well with the swag. So who knows? It might even.
Not the
And
recruiter
listen.
for swag, by the way.
Winston knows where I am, you know. Winston. I'm not even thinking about that right now. You know, my immediate goal isn't thinking, oh, I wonder if a faction might pick me up mid-season. No, my goal is to come into the FCL and win the title in the first class league. My goal is to win every title I can get my hands on in the first class league. My goal is to set records in the first class league. My goal is to be considered the first face of the first class league. You know,
Hell yeah.
That is what I want to do.
I like it.
People have talked about who won the draft. Brad Gilmore won the draft. Don't make any mistake about that. Brad Gilmore won the draft and he didn't even play.
Hell yeah. Oh,
You
my
heard
boy
that.
dropping bombs. Oh, drip on that one.
That's
What do you want me-
If we had a soundboard right now, that's where we'd hit the bomb sound and the.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to come in here pretend I wasn't devastated. I'm not going to come here pretend I'm not motivated. You know, there's a lot of good people in the first class league, but there's a lot of good people who, unfortunately, I'm going to have to, you know, crush their dreams. You know, if I come up against them, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. You know, so we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, you know, it's funny for something that kind of like, you know, obviously Christian has been working on this for a while, but what in the minds of the Schmoedown, something that kind of came out of nowhere a month ago, like the announcement of the first class league, to all these announcements they've made since then. You know, Brad Gilmore is part of it. Okay, immediate credibility. Rachel Cushing will be part of the announced teams at some point or another. You know, one of the chats said they were part of it. I really wasn't paying attention to that. PL something or other. I don't know. That's unimportant. But then now, major announcement, you know, the first confirmed member of the first class league. So David Campbell's going to make his mark on the rules. And anybody who didn't draft him, you'll get a chance maybe next year. Or maybe free agency, you can talk to his lawyer. That's
Yeah.
He
wants the cut.
I keep refreshing my emails, and I haven't seen anything in there yet.
Oh, your day will come, Danielle. Your day will come.
Maybe
baby
next
girl.
year. No, I'm not. I don't.
I mean,
compete
we're
in the
super
I could never
competitive.
compete in the Schmoedown or anything movie trivia wise. I could never compete. So.
Yeah. No, I said, I keep.
Imagine. Can you imagine what it's going to feel like to have Rachel Cushing ask you a trivia question?
Yes, it will be in one way a dream come true, but in the other way, I just need to think of it. Okay, what's the trivia question? You know, I think you need to block yourself out from that because I'm just focused. Oh my God, it's Rachel Cushing. I love Rachel Cushing. I've loved Rachel Cushing since the day she entered the league as part of the Nerd Watch. I can't think about that if I'm playing. You know, I just need to think of, okay, is she asking me a question about New York, or, you know, what's happening here? You know, I need to try and find that answer to the question. I can't fanboy out over any, you know, Schmoedown personalities come down, you know?
That's a good way to put it. And I do feel like it could be some pressure put on you if Rachel Cushing is asking you a Middle Earth question.
Oh my
That's
God.
gotta be like, yo, like, try to get it right.
I would be like, I would just apologize if I got that wrong. I'd be like, I'm so sorry.
I just think you might like burn a JTE on the very first question because you're just like, sorry, Rachel, I couldn't hear anything you said. I was like just starstruck, like over.
I was doing a Mark Andreyko after the XX5XX moment and just taking a picture of everything around me. You know? Sorry, there was a question. I need to answer questions now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, I mean, the first class league there's so much potential there. There's so much. And some of the rumors that we've heard from different people, the rumblings about different competitors, everything seems so great. And we're excited for the first class league. We're excited to see our boy, you heard it here first, everybody, the Scottish Inquisition, David Campbell, a member of the First Class League. I'm super excited. There it is. Look at that. Look at that guy.
There we go.
So amazing. Oh my gosh, man.
Beautiful.
We here at Call to Action are so proud to have you on, brother, to make this announcement and to be part of your journey, man. We will definitely be rooting for you.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
I'm so happy to be on because, like I said, like if it wasn't for you guys and the after shows that had me on, I wouldn't have had a chance in the draft, and I wouldn't maybe have had a chance of getting in the First Class League, you know, like, and so I'm eternally, you know, grateful for that. And of course, anytime I get the chance to talk Schmoedown with you guys, you know, even if it keeps me up, literally in the middle of the night in Scotland, that is fine.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes people say it's better to be somebody's first pick than somebody else's last pick. You know, like yeah, you might have been the last pick on one of the factions, but who knows what could have happened? Now you're the first pick. Well, you're the first announced person in the FCL, so you're definitely the first wave of people that are in the FCL. So
yeah, and it feels the FCL I think feels more old school Schmoedown, the way that I love the faction system. But I think it would be nice to have storylines that maybe are free of that, you know, a bit, you know?
Yeah.
And see what characters are going to do and see what's going to develop that way in the way that we've seen throughout the first seasons of the show, you know?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. I'm excited to see what because it's a blank canvas, you know? You guys are going to be able to paint the pictures that you want to paint. So, yeah, do you have factions? Do you have, you know, these different interactions? Do you have rivalries? You know, so
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see.
We
All
need to see. Do we have friends? You know, a lot of people had friends in the draft. You know, the Fan League 4. You know, the Dragon Con players. You know, maybe it's nice to have friends about. Don't know. We need to see.
Well, you got some friends here Call to Action, that's for sure. So
I know that forever, eternally. I know that.
And again, congratulations from everybody. Everybody in the chat is just buzzing about it. You know, we are so excited to see you shine, see you perform, and see you do great things in the FCL.
Yeah.
Yep, we got Oscar Romo with a super chat in there. We will watch your career with great interest.
Wow, that's very ominous. I understood that reference. That's very ominous, my friend. He's going to try and make me his apprentice. You know?
Yeah, right? All right. So without further ado, we're going to move on to our previews for this coming week's matches. Again, another full slate of matches. First, we got John Humphreys against Saul. No last name necessary. It's like Cher or Madonna. Saul. For me, the most interesting thing coming into this match is the IG competitors for the Saul's faction. You know, you don't want to go down 0-2 early on the Quirky Mercs. You know, like 2 IG losses to start the season is rough. But
Saul is on the Den, right?
Oh, Saul on the Den.
Yes, and John Humphreys is in the Mercs.
Oh, right. That's the John Humphreys. John Humphreys needs to if he loses, then the Mercs would be 0-2 in IG. So, which I think is a very good possibility. Like,
yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Because they've got Jesse, obviously debut match, and then they have both the real rejects who we've seen. Let's not forget the story of John Humphreys. Obviously, the rejects have been one of the most consistently entertaining duos in the history of the entire league. John Humphreys had that legendary performance at the free-for-all all those years back. Let's not forget about that. John Humphreys impressed in the Inner Geekdom tournament last year. Let's not forget about that. John Humphreys is not someone to sleep on, and the fact that he got drafted so low, I considered it a bit of a surprise. You know, I don't think he was drafted on the live broadcast. He was drafted, you know, after that and the hours following it. Saul has a point to prove, I think, and that's putting it lightly, because I think Saul has been a bit annoyed by the lack of fanfare surrounding him, and I think he believes he's a better player and a potentially bigger star than people are giving him credit for. This is a really interesting one, and I'm not sure which way to call it. This one for me is a bit of a toss-up.
I agree. I think it is a toss-up. We've seen Saul. Saul has not been shy about letting us know that he's been studying. So if you're paying attention to Saul on social media, he's posted that he's reading books, he's watching movies, he's doing everything that he can to get ready for this. And I think that Kate really trusts that, and that was a good reason for Kate to make sure that Saul is on her team again. Because a lot of people could have underestimated Saul with what we saw last year. What, he only got one match last year?
Yeah.
The Brandon Hanna match, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't really get to see a lot of Saul. And so I think that he is going in there with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, that he's got something to prove that he is worth it and worthy of going into these big matches. And again, you just can't count John Humphreys out. Like I am super excited about this match. I love John Humphrey. I love the Real Rejects. I love them inside of the Schmoedown. They're a lot of fun to watch. I think that John Humphrey is definitely a competitor that you can't sleep on, because he's just got that knowledge. We've seen what he can do inside of this league. So I'm excited about this match.
The Mad Hatter is a wild card. Mad Hatter is a wild card. But Saul does have pressure, like you said. Kate put a lot of faith in Saul. Why did you say that name? Why did you say that name? Says Jake.
Jake in the chat trolling Billy up here for saying Brandon Hanna's name. That's it. If we say it one more time out loud, he might end up in the chat. You never know. So that's
that's the thing, though. But Saul, he was highly drafted in this draft, right? Before Riley, if I remember correctly, which a lot of people were quite shocked about. He was also a big get for Kate last season and seemed to be a focus of hers last season, and someone she touted very highly. His record right now doesn't reflect that. So Saul maybe has pressure on himself, pressure from the faction, and pressure from the Schmoedown community as a whole to try and live up to the fact that Kate has put so much stock in him. Because Kate's saying she's rebuilding, and I believe Kate's rebuilding. But how much of that rebuild can we believe if Saul goes on too here? That's a big question for me.
Oh, I think one thing, because last season Kate was the fanny pack wearing, or bum bag wearing, as some people might call it. Happy-go-lucky, kind of like suburban mom character as a manager. This season, clearly, she is being a more focused, business-like character. And I think that fits her players a little bit better, because I think her players are very hungry. They haven't had the results that they want, but they want those results. And I think that character fits what Saul wants more than the other one. He did impress in his match against the Voldemort of the IG. Apparently, we're not allowed to say his name. But he didn't win. And, it's still still looking for that first win. He was the third IG player drafted after Amaru and after Voldemort. So, there's pressure there. And there's clearly pressure on himself. Like, he's putting pressure on himself. John Humphreys does not have any pressure. John Humphreys does not have a point to prove. John Humphreys is a member of the Real Rejects, a wildly successful online, movie review show. Like, John Humphreys is going to show up, answer some questions, probably answer a lot of questions right, and might win the match. And that's it.
I think that's one of the things that John Humphrey has going for him going inside of this match is there aren't a lot of people. I think it's very 50-50. A lot of people are very 50-50 about John Humphrey. It's like, okay, he could possibly win. I'm not going to be surprised if John Humphrey wins. I'm also not going to be surprised if he loses. And I feel like that's an attitude that a lot of people would be going in this match with John Humphrey, whereas we all know that Saul has something to prove going into this match, because he does have a loss underneath him, especially a loss against Brandon Hanna. And so he definitely is trying to go in there with something to prove.
I don't think there's a lot of Schmoedown players who are Teflon, but John Humphreys is Teflon. He can win or lose, and it doesn't really affect him.
Yeah.
You know, because he's John Humphreys.
Yeah.
That's who he is. You know, he will do whatever it takes. He's a character who could survive without playing a trivia match. You know, in the Schmoedown, just have John Humphreys show up and it's entertainment. You know, that's what he brings to the table. It's a complete wild card. This one. If I was Saul and I saw John Humphreys was my first opponent this season, I would probably utter a small fuck under my breath because, like we say, it's a dynamic that doesn't necessarily suit Saul. If he wins it, though, you know, good way to get your IG career kick-started again in a new season.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's a great way to put it.
Yep, so we'll move on to the next match. It is Frankie Alvarez. Congratulations, new papa Frankie Alvarez. Recently had a baby. And he is facing against Brother Loomis. We had Frankie on the show with a certain other person. Super excited when we talked to him. And then we get Brother Loomis, who I don't know anything about. You guys, what are we excited for in this match?
I'm going to say this really quickly. I don't know anything about either one of these dudes. I'm just excited about it, so I ain't got nothing to say. Go for it, David. You look like you got lots to say.
I love Brother Loomis. I think the character is genius. Watching the draft, I was hoping I got drafted. I was hoping Jesse got drafted as a friend. I just wanted to see what Brother Loomis could do. I was like, someone has to pick this man up because I want to watch a Brother Loomis match. I don't know what it is. Like, what does Brother Loomis do? Like, does he give a religious sermon between rounds? You know, does he try and make some sort of sacrifice after he answers a correct question? Like, what's his deal? There's so many possibilities, and I can't wait. I'm so scared of Brother Loomis, but at the same time, intrigued? Question mark? I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, in the chat, D. Morgan says, I don't think Brother Loomis did any interviews. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Christian basically like kind of kept him away from the after shows and everything because he wanted to kind of unleash him on the Schmoedown, this Pentecostal preacher, Southern Baptist, I don't know what he is.
This hellfire and brimstone.
I don't know what he is.
I really hope that this character does well, and like I said, I don't know anything about Frankie, so I don't know anything about Brother Loomis. So this is going to be interesting and exciting. It makes me really, really excited about these rookie matches. So with in comparison to the Amaru versus Jesse match, Amaru you can go and you can watch some of the matches between Amaru, and then Jesse was the only what if factor in there where I didn't see anything about with Jesse, but I haven't seen anything at all for this next match. So that's what makes it so much fun about these rookie matches that are being paired up, like when these rookies are being paired up against each other, especially because this season was like season of the rooks. It's very exciting.
Yeah, and well, so we get that match middle of the week, and then at the end of the week, we get a match between two people we know very well. That is Brendan the Kid Meyer and Chance the Cobra Ellison. Holy smokes, am I excited for this. This is like, it's so funny because it's two very young people. I mean, Chance is the youngest champion ever. Brendan is nicknamed the Kid, so clearly he's not an old man. And this could be like the Schmoedown for years. Like, this could be the kind of thing where these two have battles against each other for whoever knows. I think it's Chance Ellison's year. I thought last year was. I think this year is again this year. I will not vote against Chance Ellison ever. I think he could beat anybody. Brendan the Kid Meyer is obviously amazing. And again, he could also beat just about anybody. So this is going to be a fun match.
Yeah.
David, what do you think?
I think that this comes down to how heavily Shannon and Chance want to play into the mind games. Because we've seen both these players are incredibly successful. Both of them are coming off a title match loss at the Spectacular. Chance to Chandru in the Inner Geekdom match, and also Brendan in the team's title match. So both of them didn't have the end to last season that they ideally would have wanted. The one thing about Brendan Meyer that I think sometimes gets overlooked is that you can get in his head. Brendan Meyer can get rattled. He kinda is developing a Snyder-esque reputation, I think, with certain things, wherein he can lose himself in a match, and with Bibbs not there, I think Bibbs is a really good support system for him. If Chance and Shannon decide to just go in as deep as they can, get the kid in their clutches and shake him about like a rag doll, metaphorically, of course. I don't condone violence in the Schmoedown or in general life. Then I agree with you. I think this could be Chance Ellison's match to win, but they need to heal it up because that strategy, I believe, 9 times out of 10, works against Brendan Meyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be nuts to watch. This is, they're both heavy hitters inside of the Schmoedown. We've seen what both of them can do. They've both had belts, so this is a big match to go against. I don't know exactly who to pick, or I definitely don't want to pick anyone when it comes to this. I think when it comes to faction wise, I'm more leaning towards Quirky Mercs than Corruption. Yeah. That's really the only thing to go against it, but I think this is a toss-up match, and it's just going to go with the way that we've seen these questions coming along inside of this season. It's going to be on that. Like, that's what's going to make these matches so interesting against people that we've seen play, maybe haven't seen play against each other, but now with like these new categories and these new questions and the way that they're doing things now, it's on a whole nother level, and it's going to make this match so much fun, and I'm so excited to watch it because this is going to be a brawl, and I cannot wait to see this match.
Yeah, I think to what David said, healing it up is the one way you can kind of rattle a kid. Like we saw it with John Roca when they had their match against the Founding Fathers. We saw it with Jeff Snyder in the finals last season. Like people can get under his skin because he loves it so much. He has the bug. The one thing is I don't know if anybody loves Schmoedown more than Chance Ellison. He loves all aspects of the Schmoedown. So as soon as they announce these lists, I would not be surprised if Chance Ellison went and watched every single movie he could get his hands on in any list, in any category, anything. He wants to know everything about every movie. And I think he's got a really good shot this year, some damage.
Yeah.
So that covers the matches this week. So before we head out, we got a few more things. We're gonna have a musical guest this week on Call to Action Live. We're excited to bring him on here with our good friend David Campbell. Our musical guest this week is Prince. No, it can't be Prince. It's actually Justin the Juice. What's up, Justin?
What's going on?
Sweet cabbage on top of your hair, my friend.
Yeah, thanks. Grew it last night.
Cabbage. Oh my gosh. I know that reference. I know that reference.
Felt like growing it out. Thought it fit the stash well.
Did you and Andrew Guy go to the same cabbage supplier?
Yeah.
Look like I got that in my groomer hair from a few years ago.
Yeah, right. Oh man. No, I'm actually here for a very serious reason. So when I heard that David Campbell was not drafted, I went into a deep pit of sorrow with my guitar. I spent hours in there with a bottle of Evan Williams and a guitar, and just was sorrowful. But you know what? Hearing the announcement tonight that he is actually in the FCL has brought me great freedom. And I'd like to play a song dedicated to him.
Splendid.
Oh, powerful, brother.
I'm emotional.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Juice, for that, quite frankly, heart-breaking, heartwarming, evanescent rendition. I think we've all transcended to a new plane after hearing that.
These sunglasses are here to hide the tears. It's the only reason they're on.
I mean, we could have maybe entrance music for the Scottish Inquisition. I'm just saying.
That's officially it right there.
Collab with David B.
Did David B do a little jam with you?
Can you imagine at a live event, the next live event that we get, please remember how David B brought out Mike Helenowski playing the guitar in the Schmoedown? Let's get David B and Justin the Juice just guitaring up in the Schmoedown, bringing in Christian Harloff and Mark Ellis or something like that.
That's actually funny. It's funny you say that. A lot of people think bagpipes are the national instrument of Scotland. No, it's the guitar.
Yes, I knew that.
Especially the guitar. So the more you know.
Wow, you learn something new every day. Unicorns and guitars. Cool. What a great place.
Yes.
Oh man.
That was beautiful, Justin. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Justin.
Oh, man. Well, that leads us right into our fantasy corner this week. We got another last week, Nat Vu brought us that sweet fantasy knowledge, which is basically just his team. And this week, we're back with another installment from the great Nat Vu, host of No Chill. You may have seen him recently on with an episode of Brandon Hanna, which is fantastic if you get a chance to watch that. But here we are with Nat's Fantasy Corner.
Hey, I guess we're doing this again, huh? Welcome to Nat's Fantasy Corner, C2A's Fantasy Update. I don't really have a name for it. Call this fantasy, like I call it action because action is a movie genre, and so it's fantasy. If you have a name suggestion, let me know. But if you're not familiar, this is a reoccurring segment on Call Live where I give you some very helpful fantasy tips if you're in a fantasy league. If you're not, you should join one. It's really fun. But yeah, this week was a mixed bag for me. Amaru Moses versus Jesse Swift. I mean, I can't really be mad because Amaru won, and he's a Knicks fan like me. And to be honest, us Knicks fans we deserve to finally be on the winning side for once. But Jesse Swift, I have not lost faith in Jesse Swift. If you can get Jesse Swift, I would try to trade for him because this is a man who's clearly invested in the league. He will study. He will get better. I have faith in Jesse Swift. Next match, Murray Wilson versus Sean Sullivan. This is where I give you some more helpful advice. Buy low on Sean Sullivan. If you're not familiar with the term buy low for all you non-fantasy nerds like me, it's where you trade for someone who has a perceived value of being lower than they actually are. Sean Sullivan is a hell of a player. Don't let this loss fool you. He is going to rack up some wins this season. I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones. We are his favorite after show. I have proof of him. I have proof of him saying that. Like, Call Action is his favorite after show. So pick him up.
It's canon.
Or trade for him, I mean. I probably can't get him in our league because Danielle has him. And I don't think I have it in me to talk him away from her because, to be honest, she needs all the help she can get. Her team's not really going to win much this season. But pick up Sean Sullivan. That's my advice. That's some actual good advice. This whole segment you might think it's a joke. Wrong. That's some solid advice. Next match. Marisol McKee versus Vinny Mancuso. This one I had a hard time picking a winner because Marisol is from Philly and Vinny's from New Jersey. And if you watch Twitch Tuesdays or you've had a conversation with me, you know how I feel about New Jersey. But you also know how I feel about Philadelphia. Speaking of which, this whole show has gotten a lot of traction. This whole segment, I mean. Christian retweeted it, and that's pretty big for me because I feel like Christian has a very vague idea of who I am. which kind of sucks because I feel like if he got to know me, I would probably be his favorite. And that goes for all you in the chat. I feel like if Christian specifically got to know me, I would probably be his favorite.
100%.
We're both from Queens. We both have the same taste in sports teams. You know, maybe someday he'll invite me to the desk to call a match. I doubt it. But, but anyway, back to the match. Very solid performances from either for both of them. You have Marisol McKee, good for you. And if you have Vinny Mancuso, just be patient, you know? He was winning that match until the third round. So it could have gone either way. Next match, this is oh my God, Dan Earl, the GOAT. Like I said, it's really hard to give advice when you're already drafted a team because like you already have a team. But I always say the winner is determined by ad drops and trades. Unless you have Dan Murrell, which is what Billy Belford did last season.
That's me!
Because he had Dan Murrell. He drafted Sam Levine on his team and still won. He didn't change his roster at all. Also, like last week, Danielle was saying how I always win the fantasy leagues, which is not the actual truth. But, I mean, I'll take it. It's my truth now. Suck it. New deal. Yeah, this was a great match for me. Dan Murrell. Dan was the GOAT. I wonder if Kaiser's in the chat talking shit about me. Because he roasted me last week and I wasn't.
No,
I couldn't respond.
Sorry, buddy.
It's pre-recorded, and I really like Kaiser. You know, he wore that. He wore some Yankees gear, and if you rep that Yankees logo, you know you're a winner. You know you're bound to win. So nothing bad to say there. I think Jeff Snyder really shines in teams. So he's still a good player to have. So hold on to him. Don't trade him away. It's really hard to give fantasy advice. All teams are set.
Tough week this week in fantasy.
I don't know why I agreed to
Everyone's
this
great.
thing. But, you know, here we are. If you like the segment, then please let me know. Say some nice things. I feel like I'm making a running for being a more popular Call to Action host, especially with all I've done. I feel like I've really come into my own, and it's just a matter of time before I get my Sims, which is the whole reason I'm doing this.
Oh.
Where are my Sims at? You know?
How dare you,
my
sir?
Sims.
First of all.
But anyway, if you want more in-depth fantasy advice, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. You know, and we can discuss prices. And also check out No Chill. Their second episode, No Chill, with Brandon and Hannah. It's a really good one. I'm really proud of it, and you should all please watch it. And again, say nice things about me. don't call me a weenie, a wiener. What, a weenie? Yeah, Alex always calls me a weenie in the chat.
She does always call me.
But anyway, it's been a pretty good week for me. Because check this out. Oh, look at that. First place, Natty. First place. 68 points. So, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I see that we have a guest on Call Live. David Campbell. Just want to say I'm a huge fan of your accent. And, you know, I'll back to you guys at Call Live.
Thanks, Nat.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nat. Yes. Oh my God. Big shout out to Nat for the fantasy update. I'm very upset at Nat. Have I not simped for Nat since day one? So rude.
I mean, I feel like there's a long line, and it's kind of hard to tell where the line ends and begins. I don't know what he's talking about trying to get Sims now, and he's had Sims since I've known him. So, but maybe you can never have enough Sims. You know, you need all the Sims in the world. Justin is what I'm talking about with that hair. Oh yeah, he knows about it.
I have to block so many numbers that are just trying to get in. Like,
I feel
see you
you on
later,
that one,
suckers. Man.
That's why you and Deacon are like a good counterbalance. He has one simp. Well, actually, no. He is a simp for one person, Bethany. And then you.
Yeah, it's a balance.
It's a good dichotomy you got. That's on What the Show, everybody. Check out What the Show. Like and subscribe to their lovely program. We're gonna get out of here in a few minutes. Thank you, everyone who joined us tonight in the chat. It was an amazing show with our good friend and newest member of the FCL. Oh, I can never stop looking at that. What a beautiful graphic. Oh, Mr.
Beautiful.
David Campbell, where can the folks find you between now and March 30th when the FCL launches and we just see you on the FCL all the time?
So you can find me at David Campbell 55 on Twitter. You can check out my podcast there, the podcast First Time Films, where we look at a film one of our panel hasn't seen every week, and we just talk about it. Also on FTTV, I recently did an interview with Jordan Elsas from Superman and Lois and Little Fires Everywhere. That was a lovely talk with him, a really, really great guy. And if you're a Scottish soccer fan, Full Time Football is also there. I don't know how many of them will be in the chat, but if you want to educate yourself, head over. And I have recently I'm ending post-production of my first feature film. We just released the first trailer for it yesterday. You can go and check that out. It's called 10 Reasons Not to Make a Movie, and you can find the trailer at the 10 Reasons Not to Make a Movie YouTube channel. So go and check that one out if you can, guys.
Awesome. Amazing. Juice, where can the folks find you?
Yeah, the aforementioned What the Show on Tuesday. This week we've got Gucci and Kaiser talking 80s, baseball, whatever comes up. Might be putting together like a little 80s pop culture sports quiz for the two of them, a little manager bowl.
Nice.
But that'll be Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time.
Awesome. All right. And Danielle, where can everybody find you at?
You know me, it's your girl Danie Joy. You can find me on Twitter at Danie Joy, DANIEEJOY. You can also find me here on the Call to Action channel this coming Monday, hanging out with my favorite co-host, Mr. Paul Denuzio, and we got the Belford coming in. We're bringing the crew back. Not only are we bringing the crew back, we're bringing Chill to Action back for a quick Monday. We're coming back on Monday, so we're rotating Mondays between Chill to Action and Turn It Up to 11, where you can see Billy Belford and Paul Denuzio on there. But this Monday coming up, guess what, y'all? We have the one, the only, you love her, we know her. The Miss Roxy Stryer will be on Chill to Action this Monday, the 8th. So come and hang out with us 10 Central, 10-ish Central. It kind of depends on who's late, who's not late. It's usually a blame PLD at that point. Yeah, you can find it there. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm literally one person away from 100 subscribers on my personal YouTube channel. So if anyone on here would like to get me to that 100, I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Just look for Daniel Ramirez. You'll find it there. So that's it.
All right. So, yes, you can find me at Mr. Billy Belford on Twitter. I will be back again on Monday on Chill, which I'm super excited for with Roxy Stryer, and more importantly with Danielle Ramirez, and Paul's there too, I guess. I will be here back again a week from Monday. We're doing Turn It Up to 11. Paul and I are doing the 11 greatest IG matches of all time. So that'll be fun to get copyright struck for. Yeah, there it is. The best graphic Jake's ever made. And yeah, and you can find me on Call Live here every Saturday with other members of the Call Live crew, especially Danie. David Campbell, open invitation whenever you want to come to hang out with Call Live. As always, you are a B-Pots, my brother, best friend of the show. Juice, doors open for you too, and all your keytar soundings, stylings of the keytar. But thank you once again. What's that, Juice? Go ahead.
I just said I'll be around.
Yes, but thank you again, everyone who joined us tonight in the chat.
Give your puppies a belly rub and tell your people that you love them.
All that, and leave a comment about the belly rub that you gave your puppy. We'll read those. We love those. And we will see you all again next time. We salute you.
Squeezed easy.